just lying here on the floor. Cold towels, my feet against the door. How long have I been in this space? Arms over eyes, help me retrace. How did I become the doormat here? Memories spinning around my head seem pretty cavalier. Little by little you take control. It's a little uncivil how your game's emotional. And I don't even notice that I'm playing your game. Till you leave me a warning thinking I'm the one to blame. From my heart has made it pretty clear. Little by little you take control. It's a little uncivil how your game's emotional. And I don't even notice that I'm playing your game. Till you leave me a warning thinking I'm the one to
You want to make your fantasy sports league more than a fantasy? Hold my baby. Mike! Then you need Trophy Smack.
It's the #1 store for fantasy and tournament trophies, belts, draft boards, loser awards, and other ridiculous products. Click the link and get free shipping.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Series of Sim Racing, the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. Season 6, brand new season is upon us, and we cannot wait to take you on this amazing journey as the drivers are getting themselves set up and ready for some great coverage throughout this year. There's a couple of amazing changes that we're getting ourselves prepared for. Likewise, there's no stages. The playoff system, completely different, and as well, some incredible sponsors that are going to be here with us at that of Freaky Fast Broadcasting and helping out with that of the World Series of Sim Racing. It's that of Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack, one of the best sponsors that this league could have asked for. They have been the title sponsor for that of getting themselves merchandise in the rings for a championship. And there's been one driver that's been lucky enough to get the rings, and that's been Vincent Sora. Go on and head over to Trophy Smack. Go use that of the exclamation point Trophy Smack in the chat, and there will be a link there to go check out the purchases to make sure that you show off your hard-earned victory. Trophy Smack, they are some of the best innovators, and if you want to get anything designed, you can get it done. From full pictures, company logos, memes, and more, Trophy Smack has been changing the game. Go check it out. Amazing sponsor to have here for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, as the drivers are getting themselves rolling. As we can see from up above, Daytona International Speedway. This track, it is massive. It's gonna be a test in a great stage to set and start the season off, and we can't wait for it. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Trevor Earhart. And Trevor, a brand new season is upon us.
Brand new season, Sam. So excited to be here tonight in Daytona Raceway. What better place to kick off a new season than here at Daytona?
Daytona, certainly a place that we are excited for, as like we said, this is season 6, and it's been a while since these drivers have actually had Daytona as the starting race. WSSR is known for being one of the more innovative leagues that is willing to change things up, and certainly changing things up. No stages this season, Trevor, as well as their playoff system. No longer is it a playoff bracket breakdown of seeing drivers get eliminated from the playoffs. They're doing a chase system, which we were kind of talking about it. This could be helping out the two-time champ Vincent Sora try to go for his 3rd championship this season.
Yeah, based on how consistent Vincent was last season, this new playoff format could really help that 15 car and be beneficial. I felt like the actual playoff format that they used last season kind of gave a little bit of a chance at a surprise champion, but we'll have to wait and see as we get further into the season what's going to happen in the playoffs.
As well, for these drivers, we got a great rookie class that's coming in that's hoping to shake things up on how well they can challenge that of Vincent Sora, as well as other past champions from that of Brian Johnson and other drivers that have looked fast and have been trying to find their consistency, such as that of Steven Stimpian, that of Zach Hall, and cannot wait to see how they're going to perform here tonight. If you were here last week on Saturday night, you got to see our charity event where we got to see some of these drivers running in that charity event, where it was our Daytona 500 for Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. You can go check out that race after this one is done. But Trevor, some notes that are transferring from that race to this one. What are some of those that are carrying over?
We're using the same setup that we used in the charity race last week. So a lot of the drivers that took part in that liked that setup, liked how it wasn't as loose as the standard setup here is at Daytona. So that's coming over. So I think we'll see a lot more aggression in terms of bump drafting in the draft tonight. So that'll be a lot of fun to see how these guys utilize that setup. And just, overall, I think a lot of these guys have a ton of practice this week here at Daytona. So we could be in for a really exciting race here tonight, Sam.
I mean, practice, that's something that we've gotten as well, with last week doing 200 laps of this track. We've also done a couple of other races that have ran here at Daytona in the last couple of weeks. So I think we're also a little bit practiced and ready for how this race is going to handle. As you're seeing on screen, the drivers still practicing. They got about 40 seconds left before practice is officially done, as we're getting to see some of the drivers getting their little bit of taste of how the draft package is going to be running. And Trevor, I think that's the one thing that's going to be interesting to watch, is how this draft package, we got to see a glimpse of it last week, but also the fuel runs. These drivers, it's going to be 100 laps that they're running here tonight, unlike last week where it was 200 laps. Well, this season, it's going to be even weirder for some, because they took away the stage racing that was here for the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's going to be a big change for these guys, not having that guaranteed caution at a certain point in the race to kind of base your strategy around. For these guys, it's something that they're going to have to get used to tonight and learn or figure out how they're going to work their strategy around it. So 100 laps around here, given the draft assistance, depending on where you are in the pack, if you're out front or if you're in the middle of the pack, I'm thinking it's somewhere between 35 to 40 laps for these drivers. So a 2-stop. Most likely for these guys, but it's all going to depend on when those cautions fall here tonight. It depends on what's going to happen with the split strategy.
As drivers are in their way, settling to see how tonight's race is going to go. Zach Hall expected to be one of the drivers to watch out for here tonight, as well as some other teammates from the Freaky Fast Racing team. And team aspects is going to be another factor that we're going to be touching on a little bit more later on in this race. Well, we've seen for the Freaky Fast Racing team, that being Cedric Hunter, that as well as Zach Hall, Brandon Colley, Steven Stimpian, look very strong in the last couple of seasons. Well, they got to figure out a challenge that of the Sidewinders Motorsports that has the two-time champ of Vincent Sora, as well as past champion of Brian Johnson and Eric Rollick. Those are going to be the two teams that we're expecting to battle very aggressively between one another. But how will some of these other teams that are bringing in some rookies race for themselves? Is there's going to be one of those drivers we were just touching on. It's the 13 of Cedric Hunter getting this pink machine ready to put down their first lap.
And not surprised here to see Cedric kind of running that outside line on the warm-up lap, trying to get as much speed as he can in that 13 machine. And this is going to be the question, Sam. We saw it kind of a little bit in the charity race, and it looks like Cedric is going to take that first lap all the way down to the bottom and try to make this first lap count for him. That's some things that have changed up a little bit. Some drivers electing to use the first lap as their fast lap. Some drivers still electing to go for the second lap, using that first full-time lap to get the car up to speed.
Yeah, and it seems like really what they're trying to figure out is how to find that perfect balance of heat into these tires while attacking this course. Heat, usually when you look at other tracks, is something that you want to have and you try to build up. Super speedways, on the other hand, you want a little bit of heat for that grip, but too much heat could actually scrub off time. That's why drivers test to go for the first lap, try to put down as fast of a time as possible. Is the 13 trying to stay as smooth as possible as well. That is going to be also another major factor that they're looking for. Is the 13 also going to go onto the apron, try to cut down as much time as possible? And it's going to be that Ryan Bird first on the board, but it's a 49.971 to Cedric Hunter.
A good lap there from Cedric Hunter, but as I say, that's his teammate Steven Stimpy now goes fastest with a 49.94, and then Zach Hall, the other teammate in the 42 machine, now provisional pole with a 49 flat. So these freaky fast, this freaky fast team looking really good here early on in qualifying.
Looking great as the 42 is on top of the board. Brandon Colley in the one machine going to be taking the board. Christopher Norris going to be that of second, as that is Stephen McDonald, one of the rookies to watch out for. Going to be for the 68 third on the board for himself. Times continue to trickle in. Again, all drivers have a total of 2 laps to put down their fastest time, and they've also have 5 minutes total. Well, we're past halfway. We got 2 minutes left in qualifying to put down their fastest lap, as Brandon Colley on the top of the board. But here comes some of the other drivers hoping to try to match that speed. It's Jeff Gilmore going to be hoping for himself, as here comes the first lap for the 57 as he stays low. Going to let that car slightly drift up into the seam and then clobber it down to the onto the yellow line to maximize that amount of space. And for that, Gilmore looking to be bouncing up to 5th as Eric Krolick goes to 3rd.
Yeah, Krolick 3rd, Gilmore in there in 6th now, so he falls back a little bit as Tyler Conroy in the 48 goes to 5th fastest. So some of these newer guys, Sam, putting in really competitive lap times here in qualifying.
And here is the Trophy Smack machine, as that of Brian Johnson, as the WSSR has partnered up with Trophy Smack. They've actually been working with Trophy Smack in the fact of buying the trophies the last 2 seasons from Trophy Smack, becoming that of partners with them, and hoping for this partnership to continue to blossom, as that of Brian Johnson, 10th on the board after that second and final lap is done. A couple of other drivers finishing up their times as they continue to see on the board drivers moving up and down on where they're at. Here is going to be drivers already finished out their time, but one of the drivers that really is looking decently quick during practice, that's going to be that of Andy Reeves, who came in that of the top 10 of fastest during practice. We'll see how that speed is going to trickle forward. Here's going to be that of Ed Perry. Hard to see the numbers on the side, but luckily it's on the roof for the 9, as he will be 9th on the board after finishing his 2 laps.
And Ed Perry, going back to last season, was a rookie last season, Sam, and kind of had a slow start to the season, but toward the end started to pick up a little bit of speed in that 9 machine. So interested to see how Ed transitions here into season 6 and see if he can carry some of that momentum that he was building toward the end of last season with him.
As qualifying is coming to a conclusion, thank you so much to everyone that's joining us on your Saturday night on Freaky Fast Broadcasting to watch the World Series of Sim Racing Roasted Gems Cup Series. Season 6 is finally upon us. A long off season as drivers have had plenty of time to try to get all of the recruitment racing in. And it's time for us to take a look at where the qualifying results are going to be for tonight's race. What an incredible one it is. And one of our amazing sponsors that's carried over from that of Season 5 to Season 6. It's Colley's mom. Brandon's Colley's mom. Well, loves sponsoring that of the qualifying results. Usually hoping for excitement like it is today. Brandon Colley gets a pole. It was a struggle last season to get them, but he finally gets it right off the bat. Doesn't have to worry about disappointment this season. In second place, it's going to be the 38 of Christopher Norris. That of Aaron Kralik going to be in third. Fourth goes Stephen McDonald, as well as going to be seen that Tyler Conroy in fifth. That of Jeff Gilmore going to be in sixth. Zach Hall, seventh. Eighth goes to that Christopher Howell. Ninth goes to the 9 machine of Ed Perry. And the two-time champ trying to go for championship number 3, Vincent Sora, all the way back in 10th.
Brian Johnson's going to be in 11th with Steven Stimpy into his outside in 12th. Brandon Zimmerman in 13th. Rich Jameson in 14th. Brad Delp 15th. Jonathan Cogswell in 16th. Cedric Hunter all the way down in 17th place with Tom Sinjek to his outside in 18th. And rounding out your top 20 is going to be Jamie Dunning and Matt Stead.
Then it's going to be that in the 3 machine in 21st position with that of Dave Medina Sr. with Kyle Rochelle going to be in 22nd position. Bob Skinner going to be in 23rd with James Kaufman. Ryan Bird finishing out our top 25. Sean McCofty is going to be in that of 26th, as well as Richard Wolsifer in 27th. That of Gary Sheldon is going to be in 28th. 29th goes to that of Andy Reid, as well as going to be seeing that James Hackworth Jr. in 30th. James Vining going to be in 31st, and Chad Malik finishing out our 32 drivers here tonight. As they are stacked up, ready to go. I know the field is at only 32, but we do have reports the field can grow going into next week. Trevor, I know a few drivers out there in Daytona getting to experience the real-life 500, and so there are some drivers not able to make it to this first race.
Yeah, it's going to be really good to see the field grow, a couple more drivers, but you can't ever pass up a chance to go to the actual Daytona 500, so don't blame those guys for not being here tonight, but definitely look forward to seeing them join us for the next few races we got coming up.
As this field gets themselves rolling off, something we could do at these bigger tracks is get to listen and get the knowledge from one of the drivers out there on course. And we're going to start things off from that of the 2-time champ, Vincent Sora, as he'll be starting off this race in 10th place. Let's see if we can radio in and get a word from the 15. Vincent, it's Sam and Trevor up at the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, you're coming in, the 2-time champ, trying to go for championship number 3. How are you feeling after this offseason and getting ready for this brand new season?
I feel really good. You know, a lot of changes have happened and a lot of things that I prefer from what we were actually doing beforehand. So, you know, it's been a while. I'm glad to be back, of course, as always, and just hoping to maybe get a first win here this season.
Well, Vinny, you got your teammate right there behind you, and Brian Johnson. Aaron Crock's a little bit further ahead, so y'all planning to go forward, or y'all going to ride in the back and see how this plays out for the first little bit of the race?
I want to go forward. I don't really like hanging around in the back at these super speedways. I like controlling the race and letting everything happen the way I want it to, so I think I'm going to try to get up to the front here.
I can't wait to see how this race goes, Vinny. Good luck. Hopefully we'll be talking to you at the end of the night. As we get ourselves ready, that is the Sidewinders Motorsports driver, Vincent Sora in the 15. Everyone else up front, stacked up, ready to go for 100 laps here tonight, as it's the left turn Extravaganza 250 presented by Lids Hatwear. Get your custom hats at Lids. As the pace car makes the hard left-hander to pit road, it's time for that of Brandon Colley, the Lids machine of Christopher Norris. We're into the restart zone in green here at Daytona.
Colley's getting a good push there from the 0-1 of Brandon Colley, or the 0-1 of Aaron Kralik. The top line not really formed up, but it's not going to stop Christopher Norris from trying to get a little bit of momentum on the outside by himself, but that bottom line looking really good heading into 1 and 2, and they're going to clear the 38.
The question was a lot throughout the week, which lane is faster to be in? You know, the one that's got the most drivers in line is traditionally the faster lane to be in, but there's a lot of speed to be grabbed from both alleys that you go to, and already deciding to bounce up to the outside, it's going to be Tyler Conroy. But could that be a decision of trying to be the leader And like we heard from Vincent Zora, he wants to get up front, but how well are you going to be working with these drivers around you? As, again, we got a lot of newcomers, we got some veterans of the series, and it's the race to see who can you trust or not. As up front, first lap, Brandon Colley in the one machine. He'll lead lap one here with that of Aaron Kralik, as well as going to be seen. That is Zach Hall behind.
And Aaron Kralik's got that front bumper all the way tucked underneath the rear end of that one machine, and those two are looking really good early on, drafting together. Top line lost a little bit of momentum. I think it was a little bit of a bad bump there from 38 of Christopher Norris to the back end of the 48 machine with Tyler Conroy, that kind of checked up that top line, but they've got it sorted out, trying to make some momentum back as that bottom line starting to check up a little bit down the backstretch.
Riding on board with the 0-1 of Aaron Kralik up the 1 and the 0-1. Going to be bump drafting their way to try to hold this lead position. I know Aaron Kralik comes into tonight in this season with a lot of good momentum. These drivers had a winter series where they were running the 87 cars and kind of trying to change up the driving flow. Two completely different vehicles, but it was Aaron Kralik that found himself getting into victory lane a couple of times during the offseason. That's got me feeling pretty good, knowing that, yes, it's in a different vehicle, but I at least know I can be competitive with the drivers that I've been racing around for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and Eric had some good runs last season, too, for himself. Had a really good run at Darlington in the playoffs, and a couple of other good runs. Just always found himself in some bad luck situations in that 0-1 machine. So Aaron trying to turn that around here at the start of the season. You can see it here with a really big locked-on bump draft down the backstretch as Zach Hall moved up to the top line to cover off the 28 of Brian Johnson. That brings Ed Perry in the 9 up to the third place spot in that bottom line. Looking good early on for the 9, but those two up front, Sam, they are looking pretty good hooked together.
I mean, you just find a driver. Sometimes it takes a while to get a little bit confident and used to their driving style, and it seems like Aaron Kralik and that of Brandon Colley really have found their chemistry already. And other drivers that know chemistry, it's the 42 and the 28, leaders of that top line, Zach Hall, Brian Johnson. When they're now racing in this league, they're under the banner of Category 5 esports, and they know how to race around one another, and they are flying and taking the lead position now.
Yeah, top line's got a lot of momentum right now as the top three in that top line, Zach Hall, Brian Johnson, Tyler Conroy. They've cleared that inside line. Conroy's going to go ahead and take that 48 machine all the way down to the bottom in front of the one of Brandon Colley. It's going to allow now the 68 of Stephen McDonald to fill in that gap as they try to figure out what's going to go on the top line. But Conroy now trying to get a little bit of a push from the one of Colley to see if he can get back up there to side-by-side with Brian Johnson in the 28.
I mean, it looks like 48 of that Tyler Conroy is very much willing to be aggressive, to bounce high, bounce low, find wherever he can be leading a lane, while other drivers around him don't want to be. That's Brian Johnson going to be ducking low and kind of abandoning that is Zach Hall. And the 28 wants to be in this lead position. And Trevor, last week at the charity race, it was this picture that we got to see a lot of the 28 leading the way in the first half of last week.
Yeah, Brian looked really good last week in the charity race there for a little while, then got kind of shuffled back in traffic with some cautions and some pit strategy, and then got caught up in a couple of incidents, but worked his way up, started back there, I believe, 11th place, and already up here into the lead. So real early aggression from the 28 machine to get up here into the front. His teammate Vincent Sora said he was going to be aggressive, try to get to the front to 15, all the way back down in 15th place right now. Sam, nowhere to go for the two-time champ.
And if you're just joining us now, there have been some rule changes from Season 5 to Season 6. No longer are there going to be stage break cautions, so these drivers could go coast to coast and not bring out a yellow here tonight, but it's super speedway racing, Trevor. I think we both know it's not a when. I mean, it's not an if, it's a when the big one or a caution is going to come out of someone making a mistake. You've got that of 100 laps to go. That's a lot of racing where mistakes could happen at any moment. As ducking it down low is going to be McDonald. McDonald making the aggressive move, and it seems to be the 48 who's kind of been the duck who's being beaten up right now, of everyone pushing him ahead and everyone ducking behind him.
Zach Hall's now been pushed out to the lead twice and just been left on his own in that top line. First by the 28 of Brian Johnson, now the 68 of Stephen McDonald. McDonald all the way to the bottom now leads his first lap in the WSSR league. So looking strong for the 68 early on. Then we got the 57 of Jeff Gilmore, another rookie up there. And I believe right behind them, Rich Jameson in the 86 machine. Looking good early on up there in the third car in that outside line.
Looking good right now as we've got ourselves around that of 8 or 9 rookies that were coming into this season. And as we look deeper into the field, you can see some other drivers trying to find their way to go forward. But right now, difficult to make any movements, but some have fallen back. That of second place qualifier, Christopher Norris, he has fallen back into that of 16th, lost that of 14 positions, but the 56 of that of Richard Wolsifer up 12 spots for himself, as that 56 machine qualified back in 27th, up to 15th. You love to see the movement on the fact that some drivers are already learning how to move forward.
Yeah, Wolfsburg doing a really good job moving forward. Norris going backwards. I think he just got kind of shuffled out of line, was in that top line, and he got shuffled back. But that's the beauty of plate racing. You can qualify up front and find yourself in the back, and you can qualify in the back and find yourself up front within the first. We're on lap number 8, and so things can go, from good to worse or from bad to good for you, just depending on what line you're in and what line has momentum.
Right on board 4 of Andy Reid back in that 19th position. You can start to see the sun glaring over that of Triobles. They cross the line from the start of lap number 9, and the drivers get a taste of what this weather could be here tonight. I mean, Trevor, touching on the weather, it's not a hot day. It's pretty nice afternoon for these drivers in sim, as it's about 74 degrees ambient temperature. 79 degrees is that of the track temp. But the factor that's going to be affecting the drivers the most, it's the wind, 10 miles per hour and climbing as they continue to race on.
Yes. So not only do you have to deal with the draft, the side draft, the cars moving about just from bumping one another in the corners. Now you got to deal with a little bit of a blowing wind, and that really could have an effect on you on corner exit, especially when you're trying to push somebody or you're getting pushed. Really make that car loose. As Vincent Sora's going to take it 3 wide up the middle. He's got a big run trying to find his way in, and does slot his way in front of the 20 machine on the front stretch.
Just trying to jump from one spot to the next. Moving forward is the 15. Now he has lost some touch to those drivers who wanted to be up front. We've got to have a little bit of conversation there with Vincent Sora before we went green. The fact that he wants to go forward, but obviously are starting to show signs, could be difficult to be making these types of moves already at this point, as see some other drivers out there on track trying to just settle in the middle of the field. Certainly, it's been a pleasure to watch them be running, as on screen, that's the 20, I believe, that we're seeing on our screen, but that's actually going to be the 65 of Brandon Zimmerman, who's running out there, as he's trying to have a good run for this 20, again on screen, 65 on our ticker of Brandon Zimmerman.
Doing a good job right now, trying to follow the 15 of Vincent Sora, and I think that's a good driver to be behind. We saw Vincent have speed at the super speedways last season. Almost won Daytona, I believe, last season. Got caught up in a wreck toward the coming to the checkered flag, I believe, in that 15 machine. So a really good driver to be following for Zimmerman as they work their way up through the field on that bottom line. But back up front, Brian Johnson now back in front of the 42 of Zach Hall. So let's see if Zach does the same thing that Brian Johnson did to him, push him out to the lead, and then jump down to that bottom line and try to get ahead of him.
We're 11 laps in and starting to see a little bit of shuffling on the exit of the corners. Drivers just not looking stable out there at this current time, as looks to be drivers thinking about ducking low underneath that of Zach Hall for a quick second, deciding otherwise with the driver that did duck low, trying to make the inside lane work. Gonna be watching out in the mirrors. It's that 57 on the inside. Gonna be watching out for how that of Gilmore is going to be trying to evade his attacks. But right behind Zach Hall, that is Rich Jamison. Rich Jamison, one of those drivers that it's been a pleasure to watch. Last season, we talked about some other drivers trying to just grow throughout a season. Rich Jamison, one of those drivers that really started to grow, like I would say Richard Wolsifer, on trying to get faster each and every race.
He and Wolsifer both, came in and showed flashes of speed. Just that inconsistency that they had at the beginning of the season turned into consistent finishes. I think we started seeing, especially that of Jamison, start to get those top 15s, creep up into the back half of the top 10 toward the end of the season. So having a really good start here to the season. So I think that 86 machine, if he can keep that consistency down, I think we'll see him a lot more up into the top 10, maybe even in the top 5 at points during the season.
And, touching on consistency, we look back to see that Tom Senchak, who's trying to find his own type of consistency. Tom was one of those drivers that you thought was going to get a lot more wins last season. He always seemed to have opportunities, sometimes was caught up in wrecks, but at the end of the race, he always was trying to be there. It's 8 caught up in some trouble back half of the field as he's got himself and his late Apex Racing teammate side by side with him of that of Kyle Rochelle. They got to make sure they don't stay side by side for long, Trevor. I mean, side drafting always a factor to watch out for.
Yeah, side drafting in these cars, especially the Gen 7 Cup cars, will really slow down the car that you're side drafting. And right now, everybody trying to single file it out. Looks like the top line kind of becoming that predominant line that everybody's trying to run. But as I say, the top of the front of the field now starting to get side by side. But there for a minute, there was almost a little bit of contact mid-pack. They sent a couple of cars into the outside wall that kind of scattered everybody out, causing the split up here. And if you're not careful with that side draft, you can really pull yourself out of the draft and find yourself losing touch with the lead pack early on.
And drivers that have decided not to qualify still back here just hanging out for themselves, as you're seeing that Tom Sinchek, Bob Skinner, as well as James Kaufman, as well as Chad Malik, that is Sheldon Vining, Reeves, as well as Hackworth Jr. all decided to be off the pace. Hackworth Jr. completely off the pace. He is actually going to be in trouble of going a lap down here in the next 5 to 6 laps. So that 23 going to need a caution to come out here quickly. But again, there is no 100% caution coming out with the stage brakes being gone. I mean, these drivers have to stay patient. Still a long race to go as we are closing in to that of 85 laps still left in this race.
Yeah, closing in on that 85 to go mark. And for Hackworth Jr., you're going to need a caution or something to happen for that 23 machine to get back up to the front. And if the guys in the back half, like the Sinchek and them, aren't a little bit careful, if they keep falling back a little bit more, they might be in a little bit of a danger spot as well that might cause them to need a caution, because on these pit stops that we're going to have in the next 20 or so laps, if they can't get in and off pit road well enough, they're going to lose more time to this lead pack.
They've got to be careful for themselves as side by side, saw that outside lane being dominant, but a lot of forces going forward. That of Jeff Gilmore as well as Cedric Hunter really were showing that they can make this inside lane work. Zach Hall drops low, and for the 42, hoping to lead this lap for himself. But Brian Johnson, outer lane with Rich Jamison, they power their way and will lead another lap on the outside.
Yeah, I thought they were going to single file it out for a little bit there, Sam, as they had all kind of migrated to the top line, but that didn't take them long to go back side by side racing. These guys don't want to just kind of run around in a train tonight. So Zach Hall now to the bottom. He's got the 57 of Gilmore with him. Cedric Hunter up there in the 13 machine. I believe the 81 of Steven Stimpion's up there as well. And now 38 of Christopher Norris working his way back up on that bottom line. And the outside line, you got the 14 of Brad Delp, the 3 of David Medina up there. So those two cars from the back of the field up here in the front.
As we're riding on board the 13 of Cedric Hunter, he's the third car on the line on the inside lane, and I'm actually going to be the second as Zach Hall bops his way up to the outer lane. Going to be seeing Cedric Hunter with that of Gilmore ahead of him, trying to run together, but I mean, Trevor, it's always a talking point when you come to these super speedways, visibility, and right now we can see in the mirrors trying to hit their marks. This is 13, but certainly that claustrophobic feeling is even here when he's just the second car behind the leader of the pack.
What visibility, Sam? I mean, that's the thing. The thing in these cars is once you're behind somebody, especially at late racing, you can't see it. It's a perfect example with Cedric Hunter all the way tucked underneath the back end of the 57 of Gilmore, just can't see what's in front of him. But thankfully, these two at the front. But if you're in the mid pack in that situation and something happens in front of you, you're relying on drivers calling it out or your spotter telling you what's happening. As Gilmore now goes to the outside, and Hunter's going to get a big run to the back of the 42 of Zach Hall and give him a shove. Something that these drivers got to be wary of. So not only being tucked up underneath somebody, but the setting sun. So you'll have the glare from the sunlight and the lack of visibility in the track.
Not expecting the sun to go completely down until we're much later in this race as we're riding on board with that of Brad Delp from 14. In front of him, going to be that of the one machine of Brandon Colley or pole sitter. Kind of just sitting in the middle of this race, but as we're watching drivers run, the 14 trying to hug the yellow line as he's actually going to be finding himself trapped in a 3-wide battle and the wrecking behind the 14.
Looks like the 21 Rochelle's involved. Another one of the late Apex cars involved. Aaron Kralik in the 01 involved. The 49's in it, and no fast repair for these guys tonight, Sam. Something we hadn't touched on yet, but any damage that these drivers collect is damage they're going to have to get repaired on pit road, and any required damage flags can be detrimental for these drivers.
As we're getting the replay set up here, this is going to be one of those awkward wrecks where you're trying to hold your lane, but it just doesn't work out the best for themselves as get to see the replay here of the 0-1 and that of the 68 making contact with one another. One of those things here, Trevor, when we're looking at this wreck, I mean, they're 3 wide, trying their best to hold on, but there's not much that you can do.
Yeah, there's really not a lot you can do, especially when you get kind of into the side of the car to your outside. It kind of just sucks you in, sucks you around, and that's what happened here. That's what happens here with the Owen of Aaron Krolick right here. He drifts up a little bit. I think the 68 of Stephen McDonald comes down, and they just kind of meet, and they just kind of get hooked together. And then Aaron doing everything he can to save it, gets sucked around in contact with the 49 right there, and that just sets it all off. Contact with Ryan Bird there in the 49, and sets it all off here in the center of 3 and 4.
The 17 luckily able to slide his way through just a little bit of minimal contact, but then it's the other drivers piling in, just nowhere to go for themselves in the middle of the pack. As also going to be seeing that of the 8 machine of Tom Sinchek coming through, some hard front end damage going to be given to the 8 machine. But the only driver with required damage for themselves actually going to be the 0-1 of Aaron Krolick. The rest of the field, I'm surprised to say, for that of even Ryan Burt, he's still able to run out there, and the damage looks pretty nasty for the 49, but I don't think it's going to be too bad that he's going to be out of this race.
Yeah, the damage model with these Gen 7 cars is really interesting. I mean, it might look bad for Ryan, but as long as he's still got a motor, you can kind of bend these cars back together a lot better than you could the last gen cars, the Gen 6 cars. So, I mean, as long as he's still got an engine and we're at Daytona in a draft partner, I think anything's possible for the 49 machine here tonight.
I think it really is. As drivers coming into pit road, gonna be seeing that of Jeff Gilmore, Rich Jameson, Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, all gonna be leading the way. Jeff Gilmore gonna be going with it looks to be just a fuel-only pit stop and a little bit of repairs for the 57 as the rest of the field, 4 tires and fuel for themselves. Extended time going to be given for that of the 16 of Matt Staton, as well as going to be Tom Sinchek, Christopher Howell, James Vining, Kyle Rochelle, as well as the 17, 49, and the 0-1 that all are still dealing with some damage repair. Aaron Krolick somehow out there on track. Trevor, only 1 lap down for the 0-1.
Yeah, I just saw him pull off a pit road, so must not have been a lot of required damage for that 01 machine. So looks like he's got most of that fixed. Might still have some optional repairs to kind of get the fenders beat out on that 01 machine. But if he can get his lap back here, Sam, I think he might be okay, because I don't think he took a lot of contact in the front. I think it was more side, so it might be some steering issues for him that he's got to get fixed. But that 01 machine, I mean, with another caution and a lucky dog, could be a player later on in this race.
As drivers getting themselves prepared for this next run, there's about a handful of drivers deciding to come into pit road with the 1 to go indicator being out to come in and top off on fuel. That's an interesting call to be seen, because Trevor, that looks to be some fuel strategies already being thought of here in the early portions of this race.
Yeah, I mean, we were about halfway through the first fuel run, so these guys coming in topping off, I mean, it's going to give them about 1 to 2 laps, maybe more than the drivers that decided to stay out. So could be interesting to see how it plays out. Still, I think we're going to be close to, I mean, it's going to be close. Crunching the numbers in my head, Sam, this could be close to a 1-stop. It might be very tight to make it on a 1-stop, and I think that's what these guys pitting here under caution before the 1 to go are banking on. If it goes green, they might have enough fuel to make it to the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's the true thing, is banking on it to make it to go green. And that's a lot of trust you're going to be hoping for, especially with, we were starting to see a lot more drivers be willing to go 3 wide. And we're at the quarter marker of this race. So who's going to stay patient? Who's willing to get aggressive? It's time to find out as the drivers are stacked up, ready to get going. You are watching that of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's the first race of the season. It's the left turn Extravaganza 250 presented by Lids Hatwear. Go check out Lids today to get your own custom hat. Right, that of the drivers hit the restart zone. We're green. Gilmore, Hall, Rick, that of Jameson gone down into turn number 1.
And Norris with an aggressive move from that top line all the way to the bottom, gets tucked in behind the 42 of Zach Hall that kind of left Jamison out to drive for a little bit, but now he's got help from the 28 of Brian Johnson and help from the 27 of Jonathan Cogswell. So the top line trying to make things work, but that bottom line, Zach Hall, Norris, Hunter, Stimpy, and Brandon Colley, that bottom line looking really good, but Vincent Sora wasting no time making it 3 wide, and he's got help from Brandon Zimmerman in the 65.
And they've also going to be trying to make some moves, if possible, for themselves, as that of Vincent Sora has been one of the more aggressive drivers, willing to push it 3 wide at the season opening. He's willing to go as we ride on board with that of Brandon Zimmerman, who is going to be at the 20 on our screen. That actually is the 65 on your ticker, as here's a massive run for himself. And those are those scary moments, Trevor, that you never know when that huge run is going to kick in, as you're seeing some other drivers having to back off as they go enter turn 1.
Yeah, that's the scary moment as a driver, because you don't know if the guy that you're getting that run on is going to kind of throw a lazy block to the bottom or to the top, depending on where your run is. And Vincent Sora kind of got stuck in the sucker hole there in the middle, but gets himself up into that outside line now behind the 3 of David Medina and trying to get some momentum back for that 15. Almost a little bit of a scare there for himself as he almost made contact with the 65 of Zimmerman.
As we got a lot of new rookies out there on track, we have unfortunately one of them caught with a black flag under pacing under that first caution. The 77 of Chad Malik was having that of a 30-second hold. He is going to be now leaving pit road, going a lap down as the 77, and with Aaron Kralik up to speed, the 77 expected to be that of the car that could be game penalized again, but he's having even more issues. I believe Chad Malik had to take another toe to pit road. The penalties snowballing at this moment for the 77.
No, just unfortunate errors. I believe might have been a speeding penalty on the exit of pit road after the initial penalty, and that's just, trying to get everything you can to make up for the first penalty, making another mistake, and just having to go back and reset it all and try again.
As you see here, where all our rookies are driving, majority of them going to be outside of our top 10, settling in. And, I wouldn't say that's the worst idea, Trevor, for these rookies to stay, further back, just keep themselves out of trouble. You've got a long race. You want to be there at the end and perform. As the drivers that are up front, the only one really inside of our top 10 going to be that of David Medina, which David Medina has ran with the majority of these drivers before in other leagues. So I'm not surprised seeing the 3 up front running in 6th place.
Yeah, not surprised to see him up there at all. And, like you touched on it, probably a good idea for the rookies to kind of just ride around and find somebody to work with and make friends. I think as a rookie coming in, especially with this group of guys that have been racing with each other for a while, you don't want to come in and instantly make enemies. So make a little bit of friendships, make things a little bit easier on yourself in the early goings of this race, and then see what happens later on.
As some of the field racing on by, we were talking about the caution coming out and a driver really needing that yellow to come out. That's running in that of 19th position, trying to make the push forward in the field. That's the 23 machine of James Hapworth Jr. James, usually one of those drivers that is running in the back for most races. He's out here having fun, is the 23, but issues for drivers ahead of him as they are trying to hold on that of going through the back stretch, but this 23 not looking comfortable where he's at. He's still looking for some help.
Yeah, he's kind of down there on the bottom all by himself. Nobody really kind of working with him. He had the late Apex guys that were there that kind of drove around him, and now finally finds a little bit of help. But it looks like everybody kind of migrating to that top line. He's got the 17 tucked in behind him there, and that is going to be the 17 of Sean McCafferty that's tucked in. But you can see just everybody to the top line now trying to get that momentum built up in the back of the pack to catch the lead pack.
McCafferty, one of those drivers that had to stay in pit road for extended time, as well as for Bob Skinner. He actually came into pit road just decided to stay in the back for extended time for this 82. Know that this driver can make that push forward as long as he keeps the nose clean. I mean, anyone really has a chance still here tonight, as we look a little bit further up in the field. Here's going to be Jamie Lee Dunning. And Dunning, a driver we've covered for the last couple of seasons. His first couple of races weren't his most shining moments, but I've got to say, this 54, I'm expecting him to be one of the drivers to fight to make it into the playoffs. If he can make it to every race, well, Dunning is certainly a driver I'm expecting to try to make it inside of our top 16.
I would completely agree with you there, Sam. Was making such strides toward the end of last season, so I expect to see Dunning do really well here this season, having a really good showing early on here at Daytona. But anything can happen here. We still got a long way to go. So almost that coming to 70 laps to go. So anything's possible, but the 54 looking strong early on.
When it comes to super speedways, you can see that of the white machine, the 27 of Jonathan Cogswell. It's always a threat to be up front. Who's going to work with Cogswell, or could Cogswell be the threat to watch out for? And also, we're starting to see the momentum swing. We talked about drivers kind of lingering in the back. Well, as the inside lane has gotten more momentum to now be up front with David Medina leading the charge on the inside. We're now starting to see some of those drivers that were outside of our top 15 making the push, as it's going to be the 3 of Medina and second place qualifier Christopher Norris leading the inside groove, as well as Brandon Zimmerman. I mean, what a weird cluster of drivers on the inside as they are battling strong with that of the Freaky Fast Racing team. Steven Stimpian, Cedric Hunter, and Zach Hall leading that outside groove.
And the outside line, the Freaky Fast guys finally all got lined up together, working well on that outside line. But that inside line, like you said, kind of just a mixed rotation of drivers. I mean, you get the 3 of Medina there, Norris is there, Zimmerman's down there, the 54 of Dunning's there with Staton right behind them. So those guys trying to make that inside line work, but that outside line has got so much momentum right now that they're kind of falling back here.
Falling back and kind of just sitting in wait. We're 31 laps in to 100 here tonight. We're going to do a quick step away as you're starting to see the 3 and the 38 have themselves a little bit of bickering moments, but drivers trying to get in line, and we still got a lot of driving, a lot of racing to happen here tonight, but you are not going to miss a thing as we get ourselves ready for commercial break. You're watching the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll see you in a few moments and get you to our first green flag pit stop.
You want to make your fantasy sports league more than a fantasy? Hold my baby. Mike! Then you need Trophy Smack.
It's the #1 store for fantasy and tournament trophies, belts, draft boards, loser awards, and other ridiculous products. Click the link and get free shipping.
Welcome back from our extended commercial break. I had a couple of behind the scenes stuff we had to get an extended commercial for, as we are 41 laps into this race, but halfway into this green flag stint for these drivers before they should think about coming into pit road. And what a race it's been so far. Only one caution after a 3-wide incident that collected that of Aaron Krolick and others. But so far, this race has been amazing to watch. Drivers have been aggressive. Been seeing the outside look dominant. The inside has been looking dominant. And right now, it has been the consistency of Brian Johnson, Zach Hull, and Cedric Hunter up front and trying to keep themselves in that lead position as you are watching that of the left turn Extravaganza 250 presented by Lids. And also, got to give a big shout out to some sponsors here for that of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. That at Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack, they have been incredible with the trophies, as that of Vincent Sora has won the 2 rings that have been presented the last season and the season before that. And they're also going to be having a ring to be grabbed if you're Warrior Champion. But amazing products that Trophy Smack has as drivers getting out of hand. And oh, there goes Steve Stimpy and Zach Hull and others sliding down. And our second caution of the day comes out.
Vincent Sora involved in that one, and it was all just a little bit of a bad bump on corner exit of turn number 4. Causes carnage at the top half of the field.
Well, we were going to talk about Trophy Smack, and smacking the wall hard is going to be the 2-time champ, Vincent Sora. Require damage for the 15.
I think he got down into that inside wall. Looks like, though, Sam went straight into his pit box, got that required damage fixed, back out there on track.
I mean, he's trying to get himself out there on track. I think there's still a little bit of required damage that's not getting fully fixed. He's actually going to have to park it again as we're getting the replay of this incident. A wild wreck for these drivers as we were in the middle of our Trophy Smack read. But watch out here. We're going to be 20 laps into this run. And Trevor, tire wear, usually not something we talk about, but it seems to be that might have been the main factor for this incident.
Yeah, they get a little bit of they get so much heat into them. Cars get a little bit loose, but it looks like just Zach runs up on the back of the 81 of Stimpy and there his teammate, and just a little bit of a shove on corner exit there. He just gets the 81 loose all the way down into Vincent Sora. Zach goes spinning as well. And for Vincent Sora, I mean, you're just along for the ride at that point, sliding through on the concrete, can't get the 15 stopped. Takes Stimpy and does a pretty good job. Zach Hall there, the 48 with a little bit of damage. Norris might come out of this okay, I think. 42 and 48 with a little bit of contact there, but that could have been a lot worse than what it was, Sam, because those drivers were at the front of the pack.
Yeah, I think the only driver that really got the extensive damage was that of Vincent Sora, as you continue to see the sliding and drifting. That of Zach Hull just continues to show off the Freaky Fast Broadcasting logos on the side, as the Fruit Machine not happy about that one. And with the amount of drifting and sliding he had to do, gonna have to use one of his 4 extra sets in pit road of tires as drivers getting themselves rolling. And with that hard contact, that is going to be the wall smack contact of the race for Vincent Sora. Required damage still in pit road and yet to get moving, as Trophy Smack has their wall smack product, which is a metal plate that has that of wall safe, that of magnets that you can place for yourself, and a lot of great products you can grab from that of Trophy Smack. But this wall smack is incredible. There are 3 different big sizes that you can grab, upload your images, and you can have yourself a walled off metal plate that is stainless steel, high gloss work of art that is completely customizable for you with their wall safe magnet mount system. It's great, and go check it out. It's in that of our description, as well as going to be in the chat. Go check out Trophy Smack today to go get your wall smack. And poor Vincent Sora being the wall smack contact of the race. You hate to see that, Trevor, for the 15.
Yeah, not the way I'm sure that Vincent wanted to start his title defense this season after talking to him there in the pre-race. Said he was going to be aggressive, but that's what happens sometimes here at Super Speedway races. When you're up front, things can happen to you up front. So for the 15s, now got to reset, go into next week, and try to rebound from this.
And with that wreck coming out, some drivers thinking about pit road. Majority of the field actually thinking about pit road. One, though, is going to be Gary Sheldon in the 2 machine deciding to stay out. Trevor, the only driver to do so, and he's been out there for 25 laps. If we get another long green flag run, this 2 is going to have to pit by himself, And this is going to be a tricky spot to be as we're closing in on halfway.
Yeah, came in last on pit road on lap 20. So this would put him about 25 laps into a fuel run. So he can only go that of about 10 to 13 more laps for the 2 machine before he's got to make a pit stop. So maybe banking on a quick yellow here, or to go that of about 10 laps and get a caution for that 2 machine. But this could really hurt Sheldon here if he has to come down pit road by himself under green flag conditions and still have no drafting help and probably go a lap down.
Gonna be a tough system here for the 2 if he can't find any help. As well as you just saw in our chat, we've got ourselves some merch here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you want to find the best way to support us as a broadcast team, well, buying our merch is the way to go. We've got plenty of hoodies, t-shirts in different colors and sizes to match for you. Go on, head over to Store Frontier to go check out the Freaky Fast Broadcasting merch. As again, this is the best way to support us as a broadcast team besides watching, liking, and sharing our content to the world. Thank you to everyone that's watching again on your Saturday night, watching the World Series of Sim Racing. It's their 6th season, as Roasted Gems being that of their title sponsor for this season. It's great to have Roasted Gems back for another full season. Into the restart zone, it's going to be Sheldon, said that of Tom Sinchek, ready to get ripping and rolling, and down into turn number 1. It's actually the 8 on the outside that got the better launch.
Yeah, Sinchek with a great launch. He's going to bring the 28 of Brian Johnson with him, the 3 of David Medina, as well as that top line. Got a really good launch there. The 2 kind of checked up on the bottom, gets a little bit of a bad bump there from the 57 of Gilmore. That checks up the bottom line even more. That top line's looking good here down the back straightaway.
And everyone else, majority of the field, deciding to take tires. There's about that of 8 drivers deciding just to take fuel on this last stop. So tire wear could be something to watch out for, and I think that's what we're seeing from the inside lane. The 2 as well as the 57, 2 drivers, old tires, and they are wiggling a lot on the exit, and we're just under this restart. They're going to be someone to watch out for as this run continues on. Tom Sinchek, though, leading the way, and give that lap to the 8 machine of Tom Sinchek, as David Medina, Ryan Johnson looks to be trying to set up how to get by this 8 late Apex machine.
Yeah, and for that of Tom Sinchek, I mean, caught up in that first caution of the night with that of Aaron Kralik and his teammate Ryan Bird. So it looks like they got all that damage fixed on the 8 machine, looking good up there in the front. His teammate Ryan Bird in the 49, who we thought had a lot of damage, not too far behind him on that outside line.
And speaking on damage, there are a couple of drivers multiple laps down. They're dealing with some damage. Vincent Sora has officially pulled the plug on tonight's race for that of the 15. He is already out of the server and out of this race. Zach Hall going to be completely off pace as he's been dealing with some sliding damage from that of that last yellow, as well as James Hackworth Jr. going to be 7 laps down. He's dealing with damage, and because of the amount of damage and repairs he had to have, 7 laps down, but is out on track, as Shad Malik, the 77, is in pit road and has kind of called it a night, it looks like, for himself, just watching the race as they continue to rage on, and oh no, it's the 17 right in front of the field.
Now, more contact made. The 14 of Delph gets turned after contact with the 65 machine, and more carnage. And this is what the 2 needed. Sam, Gary, Sheldon in that 2 machine needed that caution. Not quite sure if he might have been the cause of that, but carnage had to turn number 2.
McCofferty going to be one of those drivers that I think might have had some internet issues pop up, and he found himself being looped around. And it's almost, you know, having internet issues, Trevor, is one of those, you would say, a factor that kind of can change. I would say probably that of the 65 might give us the best view of this wreck, but the 17 having internet issues, it's kind of like a random mechanical issue that pops up that really can change up a race in an instant.
Yeah, it makes it really hard to determine, you know, what you need to do as a driver who's following, like when you need to push. Do I need to lay off? Where is that car going to be at him when he comes back? Am I going to be too far to the inside, too far to the outside? As we get the replay pulled up to see what happens, but it makes it really difficult as the driver to follow somebody that has a little bit of an internet issue.
And with the internet issue, we're not able to see the initial pack of this wreck, but you're going to see on the outside with this of going to be seeing Brandon Zimmerman. He's going to be seeing this outside lane. They're working together. They're running well, but then there's going to be a puff of smoke and a driver sideways that just randomly appears after some blinking issues. That will be the 17 who just randomly is spun around because of his internet issues, makes contact with that of Zimmerman, bounces him to the outside wall, and the rest is history for the rest of the field behind.
Yeah, everybody goes spinning after that. Zimmerman comes back across. I think he might have some wheel damage, collects the 14 of Delph is the 17. More contact with the outside wall. And I think somebody drove through the 17. Not sure who that was. It's McCafferty up there against the outside wall. Not sure. I think it might have been the 9 of Perry, Sam, that drove through him. But you just, I mean, internet issues. I mean, it's a thing that happens, unfortunately, and it just makes it so tough, especially here at the Super Speedways when you're stacked up on top of one another like we are.
It absolutely does. And as we're riding on board with that of Brandon Zimmerman, he has pulled it into pit road and has left the server. The 65 is done. Hate to see that for a driver that was just running his own race. And that of McCafferty going to be in pit road getting damage repair, as well as that of Brad Delph, Zach Hall, Aaron Kralik going to be extended times into pit road. And I got to say, the timing of this yellow is perfect for the 2 machine of Gary Sheldon, who, again, we were talking about if the race had stayed green, was going to be in a very questionable spot of if he was going to have to pit by himself. Now he'll come into pit road, back on sequence with about half of the drivers that are on the lead lap. And now he's got to settle in, get prepared. As for us, we're at the halfway marker. That's crazy to think here, Trevor. We still got 50 more laps to go.
Yeah, the racing has been just nonstop go from the drop of the green flag, and we're halfway through this race. And I mean, the intensity level's been there, and I think it's going to keep ramping up, Sam, as we continue to click these laps off. And for some of these drivers, this caution is what they needed to get those damaged race cars repaired, get back out there, and get involved in some of this chaos.
As that of Tom Sinchek leads the way. I actually kind of want to ride on board with the 8 machine here as we're about to come across and into the trial vault. The main reason why is because the sun glare. We were showing off the sun glare earlier in the race in their first 15 laps and how aggressive it was. No longer as aggressive here, Trevor, but now we're at the halfway marker and we're starting to see the sun behind the grandstands. What are you expecting for these drivers visibility-wise moving forward into this race, as it's looking to be sunset by the time we get to the end of this race?
Well, with them being behind the grandstand, it's not going to be as bad for these guys, especially through the tri-oval, which is really difficult for a driver coming through the tri-oval with the sun glare being right behind somebody with the way the cars move around it with the aero package. So it being behind the grandstand is going to help them out a little bit. Going to make the track a little bit cooler too as that sun continues to set, give these stars a little bit more grip. So these big moves that we've been seeing from top to bottom to top, we'll see more of those, or we'll be able to stick a little bit more, and it's just going to make the racing more and more intense.
Racing certainly is going to get more and more intense as we are under our 3rd caution of the day. Thompson check Brandon out of Brian Johnson to be your front 2, with David Medina leading the rookie class in 3rd place for the 3. Chris Jamison in 4th with that of Jonathan Cogswell, Jamie Lee Dunning, Ryan Bird, Stephen McDonald, Richard Wolsifer has done a great job, one of our biggest movers of the day, as we got 3 drivers actually tied with moving up 18 positions with Medina as well as Ryan Bird and Richard Wolsifer. But the biggest mover of the day officially, it's the 33 of James Vining, just outside of the top 10. See if the 33 can crack the top 10 and try to be moving up even more. As see that glare of the tri-oval, it's gonna set, it's gonna be a little bit nicer as the lights click on later tonight. Expecting that in about 25 laps, they're gonna be seeing that sun be almost completely gone. But for now, into the restart zone, here we go, as that of Tom Sinchek already able to drop down the inside lane with that of Ryan Johnson behind him. It's David Medina kind of sitting and wait in that upper lane with no one to help.
Johnson, Sinchek with a great start, able to come down, pick up Ryan Johnson. Now both of them go right back to the top, pick up the 86. There, Rich Jamison, who's just been kind of riding there in that third position, whether it be the top line or the bottom line. 86 looking good. He's going to suck up to the back of the 28 machine, and then he's got the 49er Brian Bird right behind him with Dunning. So those two are a really good restart. That top line's forming up now and leaving that inside line out to dry.
I mean, Ryan Bird, this late Apex crew, moving forward, and he was caught up in one of those bigger wrecks. You thought he just had too much front-end damage, but what, like Zach Hall usually is, he's up in the booth with me throughout the week as well. Talks about these, next-gen Cup cars kind of like tanks, and right now we are seeing the durability as the 49 is in 4th place.
They are tanks. I mean, we've seen several accidents. I've been involved in some accidents as a driver where you think your car's going to be done. Come down pit road, only have that of 30, 40 seconds of optional damage to get fixed. You get it fixed, you go right back out there and you're fine. So I think for these guys, as long as you don't break a toe link or have any major, engine damage, as long as you have a little bit of draft assistance, they're going to be okay. And the 49 displaying that perfectly here right now.
Who is going to be able to make the push going forward as this lead pack has been looking pretty traditional for most of the day. You get to the outside, you just run your lane, and you feel comfortable and confident on where you're at. The inside might get some momentum every once in a while, but it's drivers from 15th on back, 16th on back, that is building a second group that over the radio are having troubles, and they're actually going to have troubles into that of going to be seeing the 2, Sheldon, James Vining going to be going airborne, and the 33 is flipping on the apron. Yellow flag is out as the 33 is done.
On his roof, upside down, and exited turn number 2, and that was a vicious hit for the 33 of Vining, who Sam, we were just talking about, just outside of the top 10, was having a great run for himself up that of 20 positions, now upside down on his roof and done for the night.
As we're going to be seeing here, the 2 gets a little bit of a bad bump. It looks like it goes down into the 33 of Vining. But at this point, Vining is trying to slow down, but there's so many bumps that the 33 just cannot slow down at all. And then he ultimately hits the biggest ramp as he goes down up into the grass. And Trevor, this is when everything just goes out of control.
Yeah, you're just holding on for everything you can there at that moment. I mean, you hit all those bumps. So for some of those people that don't know, I mean, that's where the road course comes back onto the super speedway for the IMSA cars, and there's a lot of bumps down there, and for that of the 33 hitting those bumps and slides to an even bigger bump and then back up the banking into the wall and then lands upside down on his lid and done for the night after a little bit of contact there from the 2, who looks like he just got loose there, Sam, and comes down into him.
Yeah, it's just the travel can be a very loose spot as we're going to ride on board with the 33. At this point, you look at those RPMs, they're trying to slow down. And James Vining, at the point of impact by the 2, he was going about that of 160 miles per hour. He's trying to slow down. When he hits the grass, going 130 miles per hour, and just no way to slow down in time. At airborne, nowhere to go. Once he slams on the ground, going to drop to about 100, and then slams right up in that of the wall, and the impact does a front flip for the 33, and then lands on his wheels for a second. But that will be the race-ending incident that takes out James Vining.
I mean, we were just talking about how tanky these cars can be. I don't think a normal tank would have made it through that incident there, Sam. That was a huge impact for Vining there in turn number 2. But I mean, that's plate racing. I mean, just that little bit of contact through the infield there. I mean, there's nothing really to slow you down there. A lot of bumps and things like that bound to happen.
Bound to happen for sure. But there's a car I want to check out and get what the driver's thoughts are as our 4th caution is out, and that's the 28 machine, going to be that of Brian P. Johnson, who has been up front, saw his teammate be out of this race, has seen his other teammate caught up in wrecks. Let's get our thoughts from the 28 machine. Brian, it's Sam and Trevor up at the booth. You got us?
I sure do.
Well, Brian, we're getting a great look at your TrophySmack.com machine. How are you feeling? You've been up front for the majority of this race, but how are you feeling confidence-wise as we're past halfway?
Well, done pretty good so far, staying up front, like you said, the whole race. Now it's getting to the time where you got to figure out when you're going to make your last pit stop. So we're trying to figure that out, and I think we kind of came to the consensus that this caution was a little bit too early. But yeah, the Trophy Smack Toyota Camry is looking pretty good. Got to thank Zach Hall for that. He got this paint scheme put together for me, and yeah, it's feeling pretty good. Just hoping to be where I am right now on the last lap. Try to get a run for it.
Well, Brian, we talk a lot when we come to restrictor plate racing about teammates and having teammates help you. You lost one to a wreck a couple cautions ago. You lost Aaron in the first caution, but it looks like he's got that 01 machine repaired. I mean, how are you feeling up front with no teammate help, and do you expect Aaron to be able to work his way up to give you some help here toward the end?
Having no teammates up here is definitely very scary because you aren't you don't have full confidence that somebody's always going to go with you. But right now I got Tom to my outside, and me and him have worked pretty good together in races past in this race so far. So it is good to have friends who aren't teammates. But yeah, unfortunately for Vinny, got caught up in that wreck and his day's done. And Aaron, under this caution here, I believe he got all of his damage fixed. So hopefully he can make his way up here, and we'll try to finish 1-2.
Oh, we hope for that, Brian, and good luck here tonight. Hopefully we're talking to you at the end of the race.
Hopefully, thank you guys.
As that's going to be the 28 trophy smack machine from Sidewinder Motorsports. Beautiful scheme again. Zach Hall painted up that one for Brian. Trevor, getting ready. I mean, quick cautions that just came out. It just seems like it could go from bad to worse very quickly here as we're about to get ourselves under green flag conditions. How are you thinking that these drivers might have to react, especially with the talking point of fuel?
I mean, they're definitely gonna have to make one more pit stop from here. I mean, 40 laps is gonna be max if they can stretch it that far. So I don't foresee anybody trying to stretch it another 3 laps from that to make it to the end here. But never say never. If we get a quick yellow, maybe some guys stay out, try to stretch it on fuel. Who knows? But time for patience. Sam slowly winding it down. These guys in the back are gonna have to find their way to the front quickly if they want to have any shot at winning this. And then the possibility of green flag pit stops is looming in the distance as we get back racing.
Back underway for the left turn extravaganza 250 presented by Lids, as it's going to be Thompson, Jack, Ryan, and Bird. That of going to be seeing the late Apex crews going to be up front leading. And Trevor, I mean, the fact that Ryan Bird is able to push his teammate is a miracle to be seen with the amount of damage that he had for that second caution that came out here tonight. But the 46 still looking strong enough to be up front helping his teammate out.
Yeah, it's got to be such a relief for Ryan Bird to know that he's still got speed in that car to be up front, help his teammate out here as those two now move 1-2. Johnson back to third with Rich Jameson right behind him. Steve McDonald, who's been lingering there in the top 10, top 5 in the 68, back into fifth. He's got Cogswell behind him, along with the 3 of Medina. Is now everybody's kind of single filed out, but it's not going to take long for that inside line to get some momentum and start working its way back up to the front.
59 of 100 laps into this race, and we're closing in on that magical 40 number. 40 laps to go is when drivers should be good on fuel. The question then will open up, when do you want to come into pit road? Do you wait for a caution, or do you make a green flag pit stop as the middle of the field trying to hold on for themselves as the 4 gets spun around? It's going to be that Reeves going down and slow. He's going to be off the racing surface, so no yellow flag will come out, but that's just one bad bump, and the 4 is sent to another world.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a bad bump there from the 48, I believe who it was that got into the back of him. So Tyler Conroy into the back of the 4 of Reeves, and Reeves spinning to the inside, but because he's completely off the racing surface, we stay green, and that's bad luck there for the 4 machine.
It was very much bad luck. He'll actually stay off the wall, so for that Reeves to get back into this race, he's going to need a caution to come out. But now we right on board with a 13. That's going to be Cedric Hunter running in 17th place as he's just trying to figure out, will this inside lane start moving? They know it will at some point. The question is when will that momentum start to move forward? And as well, they've got to be careful. The 17 machine, Trevor, we talked about the internet issues. It already brought out 1 caution. Could it bring out another one because he's starting to blink out a little bit more aggressive here recently?
Yeah, up there in that top line, kind of area in front of the 14 of Brad Bell. The 17 machine of Sean McCafferty up there just looking. It could happen. I mean, we saw it once already, and it just gotta make you a little bit nervous knowing that it's already happened, and you're trying to push somebody, get some momentum built up so you can make a run, and just not knowing where it is going to make these drivers a little bit nervous, especially after what we've already seen here.
McCafferty going to be still on that outside lane, having that event area in front of him. That's the inside lane. Steven Stippian, Cedric Hunter, both caught up in that spin about 2 cautions ago, 2 or 3 cautions ago. Now going to be trying to make this inside lane work for the best of their abilities. 40 to go. If a caution comes out, this could set up for no more green flag pit stops, which as well out of the exit of turn number 4, the glare you can see on screen is so aggressive from turn 4 until you almost get to the very entry of the tri-oval. Drivers got to make sure if you make any slip up or any aggressive moves at that time, other drivers might not see you if you make those moves. So everyone's got to be hoping, especially if you've got a spotter giving you information to help you out. And I know one driver that does have a spotter. That's going to be that of the 56 of Richard Wolsifer, who's leading the inside lane as we're going to ride on board and get a sense of what it's like right behind that of going to be the 81. We're riding on board with that of Dunning, excuse me, getting to see some great pictures in front of him, trying to push that free machine.
Yeah, Dunning tucked it behind the free there. And you can see here from his onboard, can't see anybody in front of him. And Sam, he's about 6 or 7 cars from the front of the field, and all he can really see is the 3 in front of him and the 2 cars to his inside. And thankfully, not a lot of glare for him going through the trial right there. It sounds like you said, starting to set behind the grandstands, but just going to show you the visibility issues for these drivers as they try to work their way through the field. It's a big wiggle for the 2 machine off of the corner of turn number 2. Is going to kind of check up that inside line a little bit.
We talked about the patterns that we were seeing from the 17 with internet issues. Well, the 2, we've already seen him get loose and wipe out that James Viney that brought out our last yellow. Could we see another loose interaction happen as the drivers continue to race on? The drivers knew the racing conditions pretty harsh here at Daytona, one of the harshest it's been in some while on iRacing, as drivers are handling struggles. But here's what the weather is looking like so far. The track temp hasn't really changed that much. Ambient temperature 73 degrees, track temp 76. The wind has dropped just slightly, but it's been fluctuating down to 8 miles per hour, up to that of 11 to 12. As you're seeing it drop lower, the lower the wind miles per hour, the easier this track could be for some of these drivers as it ramps up to 10 very quickly there.
Yeah, the blowing wind could really kind of throw a wrench in your plans, move these cars around even more than they're already moving. But that inside line, speaking of moving, great momentum there on that inside run. Wolsifer and I believe the 48 of Conroy working really well to get up side by side with our race leaders of Tom Stinchek and Ryan Berg.
That of Conroy, I mean, he might have given a bad bump that got the 4 of Reeves out of control, but he has really found a good meshing with Richard Wolsifer. But these front drivers on the inside, they've got to be careful because of the fact that the 48, Trevor, it's usually a known rule of don't push the pusher is rule number 1, but rule number 2, don't push in the corners, and that's exactly what the 48 is doing. That is a scary sight to see one of your front runners doing some aggressive moves here as we've got ourselves 35 laps to go when they cross the line.
At 2, typically it's don't push the pusher or don't push in the corners, and right there, perfect example is it shoots the 56 of Wolsifer all the way up the racetrack in front of the 8 of Tom Stinchek, and almost a big wreck there out of turn number 4.
Got to hold on as drivers starting to sense that this race could get out of control at any moment. Everyone's just trying to settle in, find their comfort zone, and for some, it's get up front and hold one of the lines. But at some point, drivers are going to be knowing that this could get out of control quickly, and one of the drivers that's in one of those unpredictable spots, is the 81 is Steven Stimpian, 4th car on the inside, trying to give himself plenty of room here, Trevor, as we get our driver cam. And the reasoning why he's giving plenty of room, it's the 2 in front of him in that black machine that's just been getting so out of control.
Yeah, he's got Sheldon in front of him. And to all credit to Sheldon, a lot of speed in that 2 machine, but you can just kind of see he's kind of all over the place. And Stimpian being a little bit patient here with Sheldon, kind of lingering back, seeing what's going to happen. Sheldon goes up and gives a big bump to the 56 of Wolfsburg again, catches that apron, gets that 2 all out of shape. And I think that's starting to give Stimpian a little bit of hesitation on what he wants to do here as he starts to lag back a little bit more.
And we're going to be seeing this inside lane losing all momentum. Main reason why is that to play Apex as one unison, drop down to get by the 48. Ryan Johnson's going to be trying to get by the 48 machine. Tyler Conroy was the main power source that was making that inside lane work. And the 2 kind of was just that assistance momentum builder. With the 48 no longer helping Richard Wolsifer, it is now just been a complete swappage of who's up front. Thomas Check, Ryan Berg, Ryan Johnson. Gotta say, that is a combination that is looking very strong. You're gonna have to find some good alliances if you want to beat those 3.
Yeah, for that of Brian Johnson, I mean, he's got 2 teammates right in front of him. Like he touched on in the interview, no help, so it's a little bit scary for him, but doing a really good job as they come up to lap the 4 car of Reeves here, I believe, trying to scoot by him. Looks like he's doing a pretty good job getting by the lap traffic. And we've seen lap traffic cause carnage here before. Daytona, here it goes.
And it's the 4 bouncing down, gonna be collecting multiple drivers, as you see there from the 1 looking back. It's Reeves bouncing off the wall and collecting Bob Skinner, and the rest was history.
Bob Skinner, the 42, Zach Hall, the pole sitter, the 1 of Brandon Colley. And Sam, right as I said that I thought we were doing good, avoiding the carnage with the lap car, carnage ensues.
Oh, man, you thought maybe they were gonna be all right. They were gonna survive. That was not the case. As you see here, the 4 grinding against the wall, but at some point the wall's gonna push you down. That's exactly what happened to the 4. Bob Skinner holding his line, but sadly, it was just an unlikely spot to happen. Then the 4 and the 82 drops down, and everyone else just nowhere to go, as there's Kyle Rochelle and others just piling in.
And Colley, Zach Hall, nowhere to go. Rochelle with contact, slides up into the outside wall. Can't tell who the other, I think that's the 27, I believe, as well in that. With
the 25.
25.
Yeah, that's going to be James Kaufman caught up in that.
Nowhere for those 3 drivers to go as the 4 of Reeves comes back down the racetrack along with Skinner. Just nowhere for those 3 drivers to go as they get all pile into that incident.
And getting repairs done, going to be that of Kaufman, Colley, and also Kyle Rochelle. All able to get repairs done, going to be able to get back out there on track, luckily. As here comes the leaders. This should be the final pit stop of the night for fuel, unless we head into overtime where drivers might have to change up where they're at. As coming in as the leader, will he leave as the leader? Going to be Tom Senchak taking tires, fuel. An interesting moment there for the 8 machine, taking right sides only.
Yeah, a little bit interesting call. I mean, you would, in the time it takes to fill the cars all the way up, you can take 4 tires, but Tom decided to just go with the 2-tire change, maybe not having to put as much gas into it as everybody else, maybe making a little bit of a fuel call himself and not filling the car all the way up, so taking the 2 tires to save a little bit of time. So we'll have to see how that plays out for him. But an interesting call nonetheless.
Very interesting call, especially on the fact that these vehicles already seem so loose off the exit. Crazy to think that you want to take 2 tires that could loosen up these vehicles even more. Jeff Gilmore going to be one of the only drivers not to come into pit road, feeling like track position more important than that of fuel and tires. The 57 stays out, only taking fuel. Going to be Steven Stimpian, that of Sheldon, as well as Cedric Hunter. I'm a little bit more nervous for the 2. He takes another pit stop with no tires. This 2 is making me very nervous, Trevor, and oh man, we might need a little bit of a breather to set ourselves up with 30 to go. For us up in the booth, we are going to step aside one more time. This is going to be our final commercial break of the evening as you are watching the World Series of Sim Racing Roasted Gems Cup Series. Race number 1 for the left turn Extravaganza, presented that Extravaganza 250, presented by Lids. And it's all on here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We will be back in just a few moments. See you on the other side.
You want to make your fantasy sports league more than a fantasy? Hold my baby. Mike! Then you need Trophy Smack.
It's the #1 store for fantasy and tournament trophies, belts, draft boards, loser awards, and other ridiculous products. Click the link and get free shipping.
As we are back, and somehow the field survives. Us up in the booth during that commercial break could not. We were standing up screaming. We didn't know if there was going to be a wreck there. As that of Sheldon, we talked about the fact that the two did not take tires for the second pit stop in a row, and that shows why you need to take your tires. That too, out of control, and we are freaking out every time there's a driver underneath him. Christopher Norris and Sheldon should have brought out a wreck. Somehow they don't. We're still green with coming up to 25 laps to go for the World Series of Sim Racing Roasted Gems Cup Series. My name's Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart. We got Rod Moore Jr. Rain Productions in the background. Trevor, my heart is still pumping watching this two driving through this field.
That was wild, and Sam, how we didn't have a couple of wrecks was just incredible. We saw drivers taking it 3 wide, trying to get around that of Sheldon, and Sheldon was kind of just all over the place, but we got through it cleanly, and we're keeping it green as Sheldon still with a little bit of handling issues off of turn number 2. But Sam, the energy's ramping up here as Stimpy and now to the front with help from 13 of Cedric Hunter, and this field's starting to get antsy as everybody's pushing hard to get what they can.
You talked about 3 wide passes. Here's Christopher Norris's cam on the bottom right, 38. Somehow keeping that 38 straight when he was locked with the 2 through the tri-oval just a few laps ago, and now trying to make the push forward is this 38 machine inside of the top 10, trying to crack the top 5 as they are trying to stay stable, steady, and you can see the focus. I mean, yes, it's a small screen for that 38 machine as he's showing off his 3-monitor rig, but Trevor, I mean, the focus is certainly here, knowing with less than 25 laps to go, it's just going to ramp up more and more from here, and the drivers that took just fuel only are starting to show the weaknesses in their tires.
Yeah, you can see those guys really starting to struggle for a little bit of grip on corner exit, but, you know, as for Norris in the focus, you cannot afford to lose focus at any point during this race. It's kind of what makes it so grueling for a driver. It's not the physical aspect of it, it's the mental aspect, because you've always got to be aware of what's going on around you, who's to your outside, who are you pushing, how are you pushing them, and what you can do to get yourself moving forward. That's why you got to stay so, you know, laser focused during these races. But everybody's starting to move around a little bit. Handling starting to go away on these cars that only took fuel. Only big move being made, especially by the late Apex guys as they drop down to the bottom to cover off that of Richard Wolsifer and try to get some momentum going, and Brian Johnson now drops to the bottom.
Popping off a 156 machine of Richard Wolsifer was not able to line up with Christopher Norris. That bump tracking combo, just the chemistry was not there between those two drivers, but the chemistry that's been strong, that of seeing Ryan Bird as well as Tom Sinchek. Those late Apex drivers have been as a tandem. They stay together, stick together, and they are going to try to win this race together, as well as trying to get that by that of Brian Johnson. You see the 2 in the black machine out of the exit of 4. I think it's a good thing that he's back there in the back half of the field and just watching this packed race instead of being in the middle of it, especially with the fact that this could become a big one. You want to have as much space as possible during this point of the race, because Trevor, those drivers that were impatient in the first 20 laps, their patience level is through the roof and about to implode here in just a few more laps.
Yeah, a bunch of big movement in the back of the pack, and that actually losing a little bit of the pack as it's about a 5-car breakaway now. And then everybody kind of battling back here with Norris, Stimpy, and Hunter, that of Conroy, Gilmore, all these guys kind of battling out. And here's the 0-1, Sam, of Aaron Kralik, the first caution. The car that had required damage was a lap down for much of this race, up here in the top 15 with a chance to maybe go and win this thing.
There's so many different opportunities to go for a winning moment, and honestly, all these drivers hoping to get themselves up front and to win this race. And if you find yourself winning this race, you might want to go and head over to Trophy Smack and go get yourself a trophy and say, I won the first race of season 6. I mean, Trophy Smack, they've got so many different trophies that you can get for yourself today. They've got anything from championship belts, rings, trophies. If you win the championship, you get a Trophy Smack ring. But as well, you might want to just go get your wall smack picture of winning this race or some of your craziest moments of the night. But if you want to go look up more from Trophy Smack, go into the chat, type in ! Trophy Smack as one word, and it will pop up a link to go straight to trophysmack.com and go get your trophy today as drivers are deking and diving, and now up to the top side. It's late Apex once again, Trevor. The beautiful dance of tandem driving is what these drivers are doing right now.
They leave Brian Johnson again all by himself. Now got help from Christopher Norris, the 17 of McCafferty's. Looks like his internet issues resolved himself a little bit as he's now up there in fourth position as that top line starts to drive away, but it was contact in the tri-oval that almost saw the 9 of Ed Perry and the 54 machine go around in the tri-oval. They keep it straight and keep going as they catch back up to the pack, but those two late Apex drivers, they've got this tandem work together. They know when to leave the car in front of them to get back to the front, and they are looking strong.
They're looking strong, but they're coming up to lap traffic. There's 3 drivers in line. It's Bob Skinner, Brandon Colley, as well as going to be the 25 of James Kaufman. They are trying to figure out where do they want to go, because these 3 drivers have to move as one as they're coming up to the lead pack, closing in on this group. It looks to be they're going to be staying low. You would hope that they would drop to the apron, but it looks like they're going to force everyone to go high here, which could be a scary thought if the group doesn't work as one. No, they move high. Here we go, Trevor. Last time they passed lap cars, it was a big wreck. Will there be another one here?
Late Apex goes to the bottom. Norris to the bottom. 17 of McCafferty. He's going to be stuck to the outside. He's got the 86 of Jameson along with that of Stimpian as they try to get through this. These 3 cars trying to do their best to stay up there. A little bit of movement from the 25 machine comes down. Going to be 3 wide from the tri-oval. The tightest part of the racetrack. Contact in the 86
it's
in the wall.
contact spinning. It's out of the exit of the tri-oval. It was a bad bump from that of Kaufman coming down, and it's going to clip the 3, and away the field went. It's the tri-oval. Nowhere to go, and you knew that there was an opportune chance with lap cars struggling to hold their lines, especially with the older tires and where we were at this race, and it showed there. One small bad bump as there were 3 wide makes the carnage strike again for caution number 6.
All it takes, the tightest part of the racetrack, the hardest part of the racetrack to go 3 wide, especially when cars are kind of moving about. We saw it right there, a little bit of contact between the 86, looks like the 86 there of Jameson comes down and gets into the side of McDonald and sends him right back up into Skinner. And then from there, I mean, you're at the front of the field. There's just nowhere for drivers to go as everybody tries to scatter.
You're seeing drivers just trying their best to hold on, and this is the aftermath of everyone just sliding through. The tri-oval we've already seen be a very tricky spot, and it seemed to be one phantom bump to another where Kaufman came down, almost touched Rich Jameson, which made Rich Jameson react to go down, hit McDonald, and like you see here, everyone scattering to find their ways to slow down. Bob Skinner fading away. Kaufman, absolutely no brakes there into 13. And that is going to be Rich Jameson, Kaufman, and Bob Skinner, all with required damage flags. They're going to have to come into pit road. A bad wreck that just blossomed into more carnage.
Yeah, and unfortunate there for Jameson as he was having such a good run here tonight. Up in the top 5 pretty much all night long for that 86 machine, and now just out of it just like that. And that's how quickly things can go from bad to worse for you here at Super Speedway Racing, and that's just a product of it. I mean, you got to get around lap cars, and unfortunately just bad timing for the pack to catch those lap drivers, and carnage ensued once again.
It ensues, and now it's time to figure out how these drivers want to attack the final portion of this race. It's going to be less than 15 laps to go, Trevor. If you want, you can come into pit road. I know for some drivers, they still have an extra set of tires to work with. Do you come in for tires, or do you just stick with the track position? And it seems like majority of the field that's up in the top 10, they are sticking with track position. Everyone else in the back half of the field, if you got damage, you're coming in to get those repairs. But now, Trevor, we look at the field. If this race stays green, they're going to be on 30-plus old tires, 30-lap-plus old tires. And we've seen that is when the drivers are at their least controllable. And there's drivers that have been out there that haven't pitted for fresh rubber in almost 30 or 40 laps. This is about to be the most chaotic it's been all night long.
Yeah, I think, we've seen how much the cars have been moving. I think we're going to see them moving a lot more, especially with how more aggressive the bump drafting is going to get here in this late portion of the race. So, I mean, we could see a lot more incidents here tonight, or it could go green. You never know. But I think the tire wear, as much as we don't talk about it on play tracks, especially here at Daytona and these next gen cars, seems to play a factor, and it could play a factor here again tonight.
It really could be a factor for us to watch out for as the field getting themselves ready to stack up and see where they're going to be placing themselves. I mean, you look at the field, they're trying to settle in on how they want to finish out this race. Thank you so much again for everyone that's been here watching the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. This is season number 6, race number 1 of the season, as the drivers head the next destination. Gonna be Texas Motor Speedway at night, then heading to North Wilkesboro for their 3rd race of the season. Trevor, it might be a handful here this evening, but it just gets more and more chaotic after this.
They go to Texas, which is a very interesting track if you ask the drivers. It's usually very hated amongst the racing community with the way that they change turns 1 and 2. And then you go to the short track, the very bumpy, very fast north of Wilkesboro. So you go from the high banks here at Daytona to a 1.5 mile track that nobody really likes to a short track that's very fast but very old and rough. It's going to be a fun next couple of weeks for these guys.
I know a couple of drivers I can't wait for that of North Wilkesboro. Cedric Hunter in 13, one of those drivers, and I'm expecting to run well as he is going to be back in 22nd position. But up front, late apex, Ryan Bird, that of Tom Sinchek's, still leading the way with Brian Johnson, Christopher Norris, Richard Wolsifer. Then it's going to be seeing the 17 as well as the 68, the 27, the 48, the 10, and that in 10th place is the 14. Drivers that we haven't talked about a lot here tonight, all up front and ready to make their cars to be known. And at this point, Trevor, I mean, still the whole entire field that has a running and still suitable vehicle still in this race, which is crazy to think.
Yeah, I mean, if you've still got a working engine, you still have a chance to be a part of this, especially if you're still on the lead lap. I mean, anything's happened, anything's possible. I mean, we've seen races, Sam, where they've wrecked in the final corner, and the guy who was back in 15th position ends up winning the race. So, if you're near the front, you never say never, because you never know what's going to happen. But what it's going to take for right now is somebody's got to find a way to break up this pair of these late apex drivers, because they have been the class of the field since they've been able to hook up with one another up here at the front.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the big thing. How do you break them up? And are you going to find alliances with teammates, or are you going to find alliances with someone that you've never worked with before? You're going to have to find that trust. And here we go to get a sense of how this race is going to go for the end of this thing. Is this the last race start, or will we need some more? Let's find out as we're back to Green Flag Racing here at Daytona.
And it's a great start again from the teammates. Ryan Bird jumps out, picks instantly up his teammate of Tom Sinchek instantly back to the top. They're going to have the 28 of Brian Johnson, but it's going to be the bottom line, the 38 of Norris, the 56 of Wolsifer, the 17 of McCafferty, trying to make that bottom line work as those three try to get lined up to see if they have anything for this outside line. But that outside line, those 2 late apex guys and Brian Johnson pull away down the back straightaway.
Pulling away, and the bump traffic is a lot more smoother and consistent on the outside as Christopher Norris dips out, finds the opening to move up behind Brian Johnson. He'll leave that of Richard Wolsifer. Wolsifer's trying to move up and luckily gifted the position, because McCafferty could have been absolutely aggressive at this point of the race. You don't have to be giving anyone a spot, but the 17 gifting the 56 that spot in what could have been a race-ending incident for Wolsifer. He continues to stay in the race.
Yeah, you just can't make those lazy moves. You have to be really decisive in what you want to do. And right there, Wolsifer with a really lazy move up to the top in front of McCafferty almost caused a wreck. McCafferty lifts a little bit, but then decides to go right back to the bottom line with the help from the 27 of Cogswell, as Wolsifer picks up the 14 of Delph as they make their way down the back straightaway. But that inside line, not a lot of help, falling back halfway down the backstretch.
Falling back, but now starting to see drivers that are in the middle of the field starting to try to figure out how they want to push going forward. We haven't talked about this driver much here tonight. The 88, Richard, that of Christopher Howell, he's on that outside lane. Will he drop down? And he will. Going to be also bringing along with them, going to be the 48 machine. Going to be seen. How can they continue on as Tyler Conroy, one of the most aggressive drivers in the first 10 laps of the race? He might have to be one of the most aggressive drivers in the last 10 laps of the race if he wants to get up front. Brad Delph not going to be dropping down. Here we go, setting up for the last couple of laps of the race. You've ran already 89 laps tonight. And Trevor, it's all about finding the right momentum. But the inside lane, you just saw it there, a bad bump, and it actually hurt the inside lane.
Yeah, bad bump from Conroy there to the back of the 14 of Delph. Got Delph a little bit loose down the back straightaway, cost them a little bit of time, but now they're going to try to get back together here through the center of 3 and 4, see if they can work their way back up to the front. They've got Howell there in the 88 trying to find his way in. Kralik up to the top line trying to work his way back in after a couple of contacts. Here comes the 54 now dropping low. The 3 tries to drop down in front of the 14, but nowhere for him to go as Dunning now comes down in front of Delph to try to give that inside line a little bit more momentum.
giving more drivers the more momentum, more energy that can be built up as the outside lane is flying at this time. Got over that of 6 drivers working with 1. The 48 drops down to the double yellow line to push that Brad Delph out of the cycle, and drivers just struggling, each bump hurting them more and more. And here comes the 2 with a huge surge in the back half of that field.
Yeah, the 2 there of Sheldon with a big run. Now goes back to the top. Kralik had a big run by himself, jumped to the bottom. He's got help.
Oh boy.
16 to Stetton. What's going on?
The 2 big run off the exit. He came from the top end and luckily was able to hold on. That, gotta remember, that of Sheldon still did not take tires for another pit stop. If he starts to move his way forward, it could be someone to watch out for as we're riding off board the 16. Matt Staton trying to help the 0-1 of Eric Kralik. We talked about the recovery run from the 49 of Ryan Bird. Well, here's Kralik who's cracking into that of the top 10.
Yeah, Kralik's been involved in not 1 but 2 wrecks for that 0-1 machine, so he's trying to work his way back up there. Big bump from that inside line. They get kind of stacked up on one another, get a little bit loose, but still trying to make some momentum going. Just not as uniform as that outside line is. We see them start to fall back. The 3 of Medina drops down. He's going to get swallowed up out of his package. Kralik's going to make it 3 wide for the tri-oval. They keep it off of one another right now, but this could get dangerous, Sam.
Exit of the tri-oval, they keep it 3 wide back here for last place, and the longer they stay 3 wide, the more that they could actually lose momentum and lose touch of this lead. They have to get single filed, or at least side by side as quick as possible. David Medina, from being up in that 5th place, now to the back of the pack is the 3, just showing one bad move, one move too early could backfire in an instant. Here comes Zach Hall, Steven Stympian, as they're on their charge inside of the top 10. And they make the inside lane work. They've got going to be having that of Richard Wilsonberg, Christopher Norris, the 2 drivers that are still trying to find that chemistry here, Trevor. And it's 9 laps to go. The 38 and the 56 just have not been able to find the right momentum to power by our top 3. And they've got to find the magic now with 8 to go.
Yeah, they got to make something happen. You can just see right there a little bit more of a bump from Wilsonberg, kind of gets the 38 a little bit sideways, but they kept it straight, kept a lot of momentum now side by side with the 28, make that side by side with the 8 of Sinchek. They're going to have a big run here down the backstretch, but they're wrecking behind.
Wrecking behind, and it's going to be seen that of Eric Kralik caught up in another wreck for himself, as well as going to be Matt Staton and others spilling around. And I think it might have been just a bad bump on the exit of the corner that got that crew all spun around.
That's all it takes, a little bit of a bad bump. But that inside line, Sam, they had such a run coming down that back straightaway, but then the carnage behind them. So we get the replay pulled up here to see what happens. And Aaron Kralik again in the 0-1 machine caught up here in another wreck.
It's the outside lane. Watch as they're going to actually check up on the exit of the corner. This is usually when you want to be full throttle and gunning it. They check up. The 16 gets into the 14, clips that of Aaron Kralik, and Kralik then goes flying back up into the field. Going to be kept collecting that of Cogswell and everyone else trying to slow down the best that they can as you just see the smoke trails of drivers slamming on their brakes. The 0-1 gets hit by the 88. And for that of Christopher Howell, as well as Aaron Kralik, that contact is what gave them both the required damage flag. They're going to have to head back into pit road. And for Aaron Kralik, I think that's the 2nd or 3rd required damage flag that he's had here tonight. And that could be the one that finally ends his night.
Yeah, I believe it's the 2nd one. Had one from the first caution of the night. Now picks up another one here tonight, depending on how bad it is. I mean, that first one, Sam, we saw him only go 1 lap down. So this one, you never know, might be able to get back up there. But I mean, drivers that were having good nights involved in that wreck. Delph was having a good run for himself. Christopher Howell, I mean, we just started talking about him, was having a really good run for himself. I mean, Aaron with a great recovery drive up there. And just all goes wrong for him there with about that of 7 laps to go.
As the drivers get ready, for some they might take pit road and take some tires, others will not, as it looks like majority of the field deciding to stay out on track unless you were involved with that wreck. Then you're coming into pit road. As the lights are on, still with the pace car, gives us time to shout out that at Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack, one of the partners here at the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. As if you're looking for that, the ultimate destination for custom that of championship belts, rings, trophies, and more, with a variety of customization options available for you. Go find what you are searching for at Trophy Smack, where you can build your custom trophies that suit you at any price point that you're looking for. And as well, it won't break the bank, and you are going to be able to show off as you are as a champion, or if you like to give a penalty for someone. They've got great selections at Trophy Smack as well. One of the best new products that they're trying to push at Trophy Smack, it's their Wall Smack, which is that of their Wall Smack is one of the best products that I've really looking through. You can customize what you want on their Wall Smack. It is going to be a sturdy stainless steel high gloss work of art that is completely customizable to you, as they have got themselves basically a stainless steel panel that has your picture that you want on it, and it also has their wall safe magnet mounting system. Got your magnets, put it on the wall, slap your Wall Smack on there, and you've got your trophy to show off, or just the picture to show off some incredible feats. Like tonight, some of these drivers might be thinking about getting themselves a Wall Smack or even a trophy for winning this chaotic race here tonight. I mean, if you're going to be that of the late Apex machines, Trevor, I would say that I would want to get a good picture of these two that have been working together up front and get yourself a Wall Smack showing off that teamwork.
I mean, that'd be the perfect Wall Smack to have, really, just sitting behind you in your office, maybe sitting next to you in the sim rig to show off. I mean, these two have just been so good once they've been able to hook up, and I expect no different here on the restart. I expect Ryan to jump out a little bit, let Tom Sinchek come up right behind him, pick up the 28 of Brian Johnson, and it's going to be up to the rest of the field to see how they're going to unseat these two drivers here in these last 3 or 4 laps.
And as we're getting ourselves prepared to get rolling, believe the lights are off, so we're going this time by. It's going to be 4 to go here tonight for that of the left turn Extravaganza 250 presented by Lids. There's a lot on the line here tonight. Lids is a custom hat company that we've seen in other leagues that we cover here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, with giving out their trophy of a free hat, and it's completely customizable. Lid makes great hats for these drivers, and the winner of tonight's race gets themselves a free Lids custom hat that they get to customize for themselves. And as well, Trevor, about half the field all decided to pitch in for a pot for their Crown Jewel event here tonight. Just had to pitch in a little bit of money, and you were able to be eligible for the cash at the end of this race. Half the field is involved with it, and the winner is, if whoever is, the highest finisher of those drivers will be getting $125. We'll keep you up to date once we get to the end of the race on who's going to be winning that exchange. But man, tonight it has been a blast to watch these drivers work in tandem for late Apex. It's been great to see drivers marching their way forward, as that of Richard Wolsifer has been doing so solely. And here we go. 4 to go for that of Daytona. And let's see who can get the win to start out the season and make their stamp into the playoffs.
And there they go. Everybody to the outside line, including the 38 of Christopher Norris. Now Wolfsburg goes up. Zach Hall's going to be the only car to the inside line. So he's going to get a little help from his teammate, the 81 of Stimbian. But here comes Norris. Wolfsburg, they decide to go back to the bottom, leaving those 3 to the outside, but not formed up on the bottom, really. Now they're getting formed up in a big gap on that outside line. This could really help this inside line if they can get good momentum through 3 and 4.
They're going to need a huge push. Again, like we've been talking about, finding the chemistry of the drivers that you're working with. Is that a Brian Johnson going to be leaving that a late Apex? Late Apex going to be dropping down low. A little bit of a late move. Christopher Norris bounces to the outside. Also going to be seeing that of Richard Wolsifer. And that lazy moves we've talked about, almost costly for late Apex as they block Brian Johnson. And here we go. 2 to go. Make it 3 to go, excuse me, as we have ourselves some madness up front. And late Apex almost splitting up from one another.
Almost splitting up, almost wrecking one another there with that late block on Brian Johnson, but that'll have Norris, Wolsifer, the 57 machine of Gilmore to get up to the outside, the 9 of Ed Perry's with him down the back straightaway. Here goes late Apex to the top to block the 38. What's Norris going to do? He's going to give a shove to that of Sinchek, who gives a shot to Bird, but here goes Norris to the inside.
Christopher Norris going to be looking for some help from that of the Trophy Smack machine. Brian Johnson hoping for this race to stay green. We're coming up to 2 to go, but if a caution flag comes out now, we will be heading to overtime as the drivers go through the tri-oval. They're going to be 3 wide deeper in the field with that of 13. Cedric Hunter, just no momentum to make any moves going forward, and it's Ryan Bird, Tom Sinchek, Richard Wolsifer, your top 3. 2 to go here at Daytona.
Gilmore's now going to get split in the middle. The 17's in the wall. It's going to stack up the outside line. A little bit of contact. Oh, they're wrecking behind.
They're wrecking behind. We still continue to stay green. No, the yellow flag strikes. Dunning, Hunter, as well as McDonald, all cut up in that one.
And it all started, I believe, McCafferty in the 17 got the outside wall, stacked everybody up. Dunning with a bump from behind by the 48 of Conroy sends the 54 machine around. And Sam, we get to re-rack it and do it all over again.
And we have ourselves officially into overtime. As you talked about the 17, that's where he gets into the wall. Dunning and others trying to slow down, but you can just see the accordion effect. There's really not much you can do when everyone is stacking up this quickly. There's just not enough reaction time in the world to slow down that fast.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do in that situation. I mean, it's so hard to get out of the gas, especially that late in the race. And the 54 hard contact in the outside wall. You see the 13 of Cedric Hunter right there. The 14 of Delph gets involved. I believe that's the 16 of Stetton also as well involved in that wreck. And just a product of hard racing right there. The 17 just got a little loose, got into the outside wall, stacks everybody up, and big spin through 1 and 2.
And majority of the drivers caught up in that one were drivers that actually were finding themselves already coming into pit road for repairs in the last yellow that came out. But we are now officially in overtime. If you've never watched overtime before, the way that it works is when we go back to green flag racing, the driver's going to have 2 laps to finish out this race. If they get the white flag, which is going to the last lap of this race, the race will become official. No yellow flag will end this race. But if a yellow flag comes out on that first lap before we get the white flag, we will go into attempt number 2. That same scenario, yellow flag on the first lap comes out, we will go into attempt number 3. Attempt number 3, a little bit different than attempt number 1 or 2, but most of these drivers attempting to make this the last restart of the night. Trevor, this is when the drivers, they've all been racing to this point. If we look back to last season when they ran here at Daytona, it was in the middle of the season, and the drivers had to use 1 attempt at overtime. With the way that you've been seeing these guys racing so far, do you think we're going to need 1 attempt or more?
I think it's going to take more than 1 attempt, Sam. I mean, everybody's going to be so aggressive. You got to make an aggressive move to get by these late apex guys. We saw how aggressive they were to block the runs, and that could be their downfall here tonight. I mean, a little bit later of a block on Brian Johnson could have seen the 8 of Tom Sinchek getting spun around. So no guarantee that they're safe up here at the front, and I think we're going to need at least 2 attempts to get this race over with here tonight.
Well, a driver that's in a pretty good attempt right now, I kind of want to get his thoughts on it. 6th place runner at this moment, Ed Perry. We talked about his growth of going from last season to this season. Let's get our thoughts from the 9. How is he running here tonight? Ed, it's Sam and Trevor up in the booth. You got us?
Oh, yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I mean, you're up to 6th place. You've been up in the top 15 for the majority of the night. How are you feeling as we're heading into overtime?
I'm feeling pretty good. If I'd like to see this thing go green the rest of the way. Little loose coming off the corners, but this thing's a rocket ship.
I mean, Ed, we've seen the teammates of late apex up there at the front being pretty dominant. You got anybody in mind that you're willing to work with, or anybody that's going to help you try to make a run at them?
My teammates, I formed a couple of teammates during this race, and they're both, I've got the 3 car and the 17. 17 just got destroyed.
That he did just get destroyed. I mean, Ed, I know that we talk about super speedways. There's always an opportune chance to win at any position. How are you feeling for this first attempt, and where are you thinking about trying to make your charge to get up there?
I'm just going to stay at the top, wait till the last lap, and then see where the instincts take me.
Well, we're hoping for the best for you, Ed. Good luck, and hopefully we'll be talking at the end of the night.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That is going to be the 9 machine of Ed Perry. Again, talking to this, working with 17 and the 3. The 3 machine of that of David Medina actually going to be just a couple of rows back from that of the 9. They'll be all the way back in that of 12th position. But Trevor, they're stacked up. The lights are off. We're going into our first attempt at overtime. Woo, here we go.
Here we go. It's about to get even more intense than what it already was. And a little bit of a shakeup up front. Brian Johnson lost a couple of positions there coming to that, when we got that caution. So he's going to be starting a little bit further back behind the 38 of Christopher Norris. Still got the late apex guys up front, but I mean, the 2 most aggressive drivers we've seen in the last little bit of this race, that of Wolsifer and Norris, right there with one another. If those 2 can get together, maybe can make something work to get around these 2 of Ryan Bird and Tom Sinchek.
Also, another couple of drivers to talk about. That is Steven Stampy and Zach Hall. They're going to be back in row number 4. But it's going to be maybe a little bit too far back. Who can make the charge forward? We know one thing for sure. Late Apex have been the drivers to watch out for all night long. Can they hold on? We are heading into overtime attempt number 1 for the left turn Extravaganza 250 presented by Lids. We're green. Here we go for the final couple of restarts. Is this the last one? Ryan Bird, Tom Sinchek, bounce it to the outside. It's the teamwork on the outside groove. Or will it be the inside? Here we go down in turn number 1.
Norris still elects to stay at the bottom, picks up Brian Johnson, Zach Hall, the 57 of Gilmore. They all get together. Perry to the outside with Stimpy, and that's a 5-car train up top, 4 cars on the bottom, but it's a good push from Johnson to Norris. They're side by side with that of Sinchek. A little bit of a wiggle from Ryan Bird halfway down the backstretch, and here comes that inside line into turn number 3.
It's the bump by the 42. Zach Hall going to be making that inside lane move. They're going to be side by side with that late Apex. Apex needing more help from Richard Wolfsver and Ed Perry. That outside lane starting to dissipate. Here they come at turn number 4. The white flag is what they're searching for. At this time, across the line, it is going to be coming across the line. Your roasted Gems coffee. White flag for these drivers, as it's going to be that of Christopher Norris. Brian Johnson leading the way, but Norris watching these late finishes. The lead driver is always at the issue of being passed. Watch out for the late move by the 38. He might get pushed too far ahead that he can't defend, and Brian Johnson, he is already making the move.
There goes Johnson to the outside. The 49 of Bird tries to make it 3 wide. There's a little bit of contact. They're wrecking behind. Zach Hall's in it. Here comes, though, the 8 of Sinchek. Sinchek's through it with a big run.
Tom Sinchek trying to make the pass on the outside. He's going to be side drafted by Christopher Norris. Norris not allowing the move, but here comes the pressure, the momentum. Brian Johnson has to defend 2 different lanes. He's going to go high, but Sinchek and Norris, they wreck. Brian Johnson wins the first race here at Daytona.
And it's contact through the grass for second place, and I believe Norris ends up beating Sinchek as those 2 are beating and banging through the grass. And what a finish we had here tonight. Sam late Apex, no help on that top line, gets swallowed up on the last lap, and Brian Johnson with a move down the backstretch to get himself a win here tonight.
I mean, Ryan Bird was not able to stay with his teammate at Tom Sinchek. He'll fall all the way down to 13th place. But man, you can't script this any better there, Trevor. Trophy Smack, they gotta be loving this. It's the 28 machine winning here tonight.
They jump on board here for the season, and first race out, they're in victory lane. And what better place to be in victory lane than at Daytona? Congratulations to Brian Johnson and the Trophy Smack team. They're going to go burn it down here at the line.
Brian Johnson gets across the line, rips it around, and gets to have his fun. Went up front for majority of the night, made the best move on the backstretch, get by Christopher Norris, and never looked back. The driver started scattering, and it's the 28 who gets it done. Congratulations to Brian Johnson. And for us up in the booth, we're going to step aside as he gets to have his fun in the grass. When we come back, it's the post-race show. We'll talk to that of the top 2 and our spotlight driver of the night. We'll be back in just a few moments. Well, with the race title name of the Left Turn Extravaganza 250, it certainly put on a show at the end, and that was also presented by Lids. What a race finale that we had there, and getting the win. I mean, like I said right before we came to commercial, it almost felt like it was scripted with how much Trophy Smack is partnering up with the WSSR. It makes sense that you'd see a Trophy Smack machine win. We've got Brian Johnson with us. Brian, the 28 did it. You're in victory lane. How are you feeling after that one?
Very lucky that I wasn't involved with that. Yeah, it always feels good to win a race, but to avoid all the chaos on the last lap and to be able to come to the start finish line with not having to block anybody or wondering if you're going to beat them to the line, that's a pretty good feeling. But the whole race. I just knew that track position was definitely going to be key. So always tried to stay up in the front of the field, and it worked. So yeah, the Trophy Smack Toyota Camry came home in victory lane, and yeah, it's very nice.
I mean, Brian, walk us through that move on the backstretch. Did you feel like you might have made that move a little bit too early, or were you feeling pretty confident when you made that move to jump to the outside of Christopher Norris?
Well, I kinda I had to do it, because he, and I was talking with him just before I came in here, but he had, just barely hit the apron in 1 and 2, and, I kinda noticed that he got a little squirrely, and I was like, "Man, if I stay behind him, then none of us are gonna have a chance to win." 'Cause, Norris, myself, and Zach Hall, we were trying to work together to get up there, but, I can't blame him for hitting the apron either. I was beating his rear bumper off trying to beat the other guys, so but yeah, once he hit the apron and got squirrely, I was like, okay, I gotta ditch him. I gotta go. And luckily, it was perfect timing with everything else that happened. So and then coming to the checker flag, I saw him and Tom coming in the mirror, and then they both touched, and it was pretty easy for me after that.
And that it certainly was. Brian, with this win, putting yourself in a position to race for a championship for yourself. How are you feeling with the fact that, moving forward, that pressure of trying to get your win for the season is kind of gone?
Oh, it's definitely a great feeling. Knowing that the with the new championship style stuff that we got going on. No more playoffs, no more stages. Just straight through the races and doing a chase style. Every win is not that it wasn't important before, but they're important now. And that it's good to not have that pressure throughout the season. However, definitely gonna still try to get those wins because the more wins you have, the better off you'll be. So it's good to be 1 for 1 for season 6 so far, but gonna try to make it 2 for 2.
Certainly should be a good one. Brian, congratulations on this win. Before we let you go, I got one more question for you, and as well, you can thank your sponsors. You're running the Trophy Smack scheme. You won here tonight. Are you going to get the belt? You're going to get a trophy. You get in the ring, or are you going to put yourself and get yourself a wall smack after this win?
Probably gonna get a wall smack. That's got to be a good memento for this race. The trophy smack scheme in WSSR is also undefeated at this point. So, yeah, probably gonna use that code that you can find in the chat somewhere and order myself a wall smack with that. So, yeah, gonna be pretty cool. I think Zach's looking to get one too at some point. So, yeah.
Well, Brian, before I let you go again, the floor is yours for any more shout outs.
Definitely got to thank everybody that tuned in tonight. I hope that was a great race to watch. It was fun to race in, and then definitely got to thank you guys for putting on a great show as always. And then Roasted Jim's Coffee for sponsoring the series here, and then Trophy Smack as well for partnering with us. We greatly appreciate it, and greatly appreciate them letting me put them on my car. It looks great. Again, I shouted out Zach Hall for the great paint scheme earlier, but gonna give him a shout out as well because that car definitely looks great. And then to all the league drivers here that we're starting with season 6 with 32 guys, it was great. Hopefully we can keep those strong numbers up throughout the whole season because we got a good group of guys here to race with. I think this season's gonna be really really great, and just yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, that's going to be the 28 machine of Brian Johnson. Congratulations on this win and enjoy your time throughout the week as you get prepared for Texas.
All right, thank you very much.
As we go from that of first place, we go to second place, where a driver that fought his way all the way through comes away in second position. Christopher Norris. Chris, we're looking at the backstretch incident while we're talking to you. I mean, you survived the carnage when you saw the wrecking going on behind you. What was going through your mind as you were getting yourself prepared for that final push at the end?
Well, I was looking for the guy straight behind me. I was hoping that guy would be able to make it through the wreck and hopefully push me to the win. Instead, that guy, I believe, was Tom Cindric, actually went to my outside, and we just got side drafted together and wasn't able to do too much.
I mean, Norris, what a great run for yourself coming away second here to start the season off. But I mean, Sam and I touched on it all night long about how loose these cars looked out there. I mean, what was the handling aspect of this of the car out there tonight?
Yeah, I will say it wasn't too bad. There was a few times getting pushed to the tons. It was an issue. Like on the last lap into ton 1 and 2, I did tap the apron. I would mostly blame that on looseness, but I believe it was most of my nervousness and anxiety just from being pushed and almost going for the win. But it honestly wasn't that bad compared to what other some setups can be, and it was pretty okay.
Well, Norris, coming away second, gotta be feeling good momentum wise. We're heading now to Texas, North Wilkesboro. It's not a mad dash if anyone can win there. How are your confidence feeling going into those next couple of racetracks?
Well, actually, a few days ago, we did a test at Texas. It was not my favorite. Tires are very interesting there, so short tracks sometimes can be my thing. So I'll be looking for North Wilkesboro, and hopefully I just survive for Texas.
We cannot wait for it. Congratulations, Chris, on getting that a second place here tonight. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank you guys for the amazing broadcast as always. Trophy Smack for the sponsorship of the league, as well as Roasted Gems Coffee. And then also a shout out to the sponsor of this race tonight. And congrats to Brian P. Johnson on winning a custom hat from CustomLids.com. So make sure to check him out for if you will be interested for buying a custom hat just for yourself or many other people. And as you can see, it's actually the one that's right on my head right here.
As that, man, that's awesome, Norris. Congratulations again on second place and good luck in these upcoming races.
Thank you.
As we go from second place, our spotlight driver going to be third place. As you see the battling on screen, certainly drivers that were going for it all. Tom, it's Sam and Trevor up at the booth. Congratulations on third. We're watching the replay in slow-mo now as we're talking to you. Coming out of turn number 4, what was going through your mind when you saw it was just yourself, Brian Johnson, and Christopher Norris come to the line?
I would like to watch the replay when the wreck happened, actually, because I made it through that and I almost peed myself a few times. But yeah, we were coming out of 4. It was, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get by Brian because he was going to throw the block and he's really good at throwing blocks. But I noticed that when Brian came up, Norris tried to get behind him, but I was already there. We kind of made contact. And luckily for me and Norris, that the rest of the field had kind of wrecked behind us. So we weren't really in any danger for losing any spots here or there. But yeah, I mean, I'd rather take third over being in like 15th or something like that, even if I didn't get second there. But yeah, I felt good to get third there.
I mean, Tom, you and Ryan, I mean, were the class of the field there for the second half of the race. Y'all were both involved in an early incident there tonight, worked your way up to the front. I mean, was there anything y'all could have done as teammates there at the end? Anything else y'all could have done, or did y'all feel like y'all were sitting ducks there on that green white checkered?
Well, it was kind of difficult to say. I feel like if the line stayed the way it was, I knew from the beginning that it wasn't going to stay that way. But everybody ditched to the bottom when they saw me and Ryan get past, and I really didn't have any pushing help, so we had to ditch to the bottom too. And then when everything got scattered on the back stretch and people were throwing blocks here and there, it got really, really, really hectic. There was no draft, and it was just everybody everyone for themselves. But I felt like we controlled it pretty well. We communicated pretty well, especially on the restarts. And I don't know, I think it was just a really great showing for late Apex. Even though Ryan finished 13th, it was at least we got the recognition of being able to hold our own on the super speedways.
You guys certainly did just that. And with the super speedway being done here at Daytona, we're now heading to more of those traditional racetracks where it's more of the skill and not really about the draft. How are you feeling with the rest of the schedule that's coming up to try to prepare yourself to try to make the playoffs?
Well, we did a Texas recruitment race not too long ago, and it was absolutely awful. I hope they don't change the setup first and foremost, because it was fun, but it was super loose after 10 laps, and it's gonna have to be one of those race of endurance where you control your tires and not try and slide or anything like that. And I like those type of races, but it is gonna be difficult on that right rear tire because it does wear a lot more than the front right. So you'll see a lot of people getting sketchy coming out of 2, not so much out of 4, but you'll notice a lot of people sideways coming out of 2 next week at Texas.
Well, Tom, it was incredible to watch tonight. Can't wait to see how next week's going to go, with the fact that it just sounds like everyone's kind of nervous about how next week's race is going to go.
Mhm.
But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah. Shout out to you guys. I can't wait to watch the replay to see how the paint schemes look next to each other, back nose to front. Shout out to everybody that was up front. Me and Brian and Norris and Ryan, we all worked together really well. I thought it was a pretty clean race. There was a few wrecks here or there that happened in the back that I didn't get a chance to see yet. But yeah, shout out to everybody to put on a really entertaining first race of the season.
Well, congratulations, Tom, on top 3 finish. Good luck next week, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again.
Hope so. I'll see you then.
As that was the gate machine from Late Apex, Tom Sinchek, hoping to continue on the run. As we go from our interviews with the drivers on our post-race show, we head over to the unofficial results because there was a lot of shifting going on. Trevor, I don't know if you got to go look on your end, but we saw the initial wreck of the drivers up front, but we didn't get to see the rest of the wrecking on the backstretch. But it certainly shook up a lot on where drivers finished at the end of this race. We know about the top 3: Brian Johnson, Christopher Norris, Tom Sinchek. David Medina going to get 4th, with that Cedric Hunter in 5th. Kyle Rochelle gets 6th, as he's the second lead finisher of Late Apex. With that is Steven McDonald going to get 7th. Brandon Collier, pole sitter, gets 8th. Zach Hall 9th. And Ed Perry finishes out in 10th place. But man, Trevor, the rest of the field, a scrambled mess of where they were before.
Yeah, absolute carnage down the back straightaway there on that last lap. But I mean, what a finish! What recovery drives from that of Rochelle, Hunter, even Zach Hall. I know he was caught up in that last wreck, and Brandon Colley. I mean, all those drivers caught up in wrecks earlier on in the race with great job recovering. Ed Perry, I mean, we talked to him. He was having a great run, still gets a top 10 for himself. Christopher Howell, we talked about him at one point. He got caught up in a wreck with a good run back up there to 12th. But I mean, you go further back down, Sam Wolsifer was up front all night long down there in 20th. Dunning, involved in a wreck, was up there in 18th. Kralik, involved in a couple of wrecks here tonight, had a good run going for a little bit of it till he got caught up in some more stuff. And then our 2-time champ caught up in a wreck early on, Vincent Sora, all the way down there in 31st. So a little bit of a hole for that 15 machine to climb out of if he wants to go for a three-peat.
I think this might be one of the few races where we could say maybe Vincent Sora wasn't the favorite coming into tonight, but moving forward, I'm not too nervous about Vincent Sora. He has looked like the dominant driver of this series for 2 seasons in a row. There's a reason he's a 2-time champ. He's going to be going for the 3-peat, and that's kind of what the marketing's been for this season, is who can beat Vinny. Tonight, it was his teammate Brian Johnson, but moving forward, what else could happen? And we can't wait for it. Again, next week's going to be Texas, and Trevor, it feels good to be back to commentating on Saturdays for the WSSR.
Feels great, and cannot wait to get to Texas next week. But I think for a lot of the drivers, especially from the couple that we heard from tonight, not a lot of love going into next week. I think a lot of drivers looking forward to the week after that when we get to that of Wilkesboro. But Sam, it is great to be back up here in the booth on Saturday nights, and what a great race to start the season off with.
An incredible one here tonight. And if you want to see more great coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we will be giving you some more coverage starting Monday night. It's the ISRC Truck Series, as they're going to be back to racing coverage. Tuesday, it's the Full Send Racing Series. Wednesday's the Wicked Racing Series. Thursday, Stars and Stripes. And then Saturday, it is the WSSR back here for Texas Motor Speedway. 5 races a week, and we are happy to be back to full swing here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you to everyone who watched us last year and into this year. Cannot wait for more great coverage like we had tonight. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for watching, and we'll see you at our next broadcast. It's Monday night for the ISRC Truck Series.